Sabbath. Happy those of you who are online. Happy Sabbath. Those of you who are online, it's gonna be a good class. Looking forward to teaching this for a while. Took me a few months to put it together. Hope y'all enjoy it. I'm not on the. I don't see the screens out working. You on screen? Today's topic is entitled "The Secrets of History." The Two Promised Lands, Chapter 1. Secrets of History, The Two Promised Lands, Chapter 1. Or Episode 1, whatever you prefer. Episode 1. I'll say Episode 1, not chapter, Episode 1. Or whatever. Gonna delve into history. It starts from I think I'll just go into it. We're gonna go all the way from, I'll give you a hint. We're gonna go all the way from Genesis, leading all the way into the Inquisition. The bishop has been going into Inquisition for a while, and he was spoiling my classes, man. It was bad. I was like, damn, I can't go over that now. He went over it, but Roswell in time, I'll go into some stuff as well regarding the Inquisition. But I'm gonna pretty much go into the history leading up into the Inquisition. So from Genesis to Dark Ages, pretty much. All right, so we're going to go to Genesis chapter 10, verse 1. Genesis 10, verse 1.
The book of Genesis, chapter 10, verse 1. Now these are the generations of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Mm-hmm. And unto them were sons born after the flood. Mm-hmm. The sons of Japheth,
Jump to verse 6. So Noah had three sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Jump to verse 6, then verse 15.
Verse 6. And the sons of Ham, mm-hmm. Cush,
Ethiopians,
and Mizraim,
Egypt,
and Put,
Libya,
and Canaan.
Canaanites. Go ahead.
And the sons of Cush, Seba.
Verse 15. So Cush had sons. Cush would be his firstborn. Read 15 again.
Verse 15.
Yeah, verse 15, yeah.
Verse 15. And Canaan begot Sidon, his firstborn, and Heth.
Right, Sidon's firstborn. Canaan's firstborn was Sidon. So Canaan begat Sidon, his firstborn, and Heth. Heth would be the Hittites. Go ahead, verse 19.
Verse 19. And the border of the Canaanites was from Sidon, as thou comest to Gerar, unto Gaza, as thou goest unto Sodom and Gomorrah, and Admah, and Zobam, even unto Lasha.
So Canaanites was from Sidon. So the Sidonians are Canaanites. All right? The firstborn of Canaan was Sidon. The Sidonians are children of Canaan. Let's get Joshua 13, verse 4. I'm going to take it real slow because I find when I rush, I miss things. So I'm not doing that. Whatever I fit in today's class, I'm going to fit in. Whatever I don't, I'll be next time. Joshua 13, verse 4. We're going to read verse 4 through 6. Joshua 13.
The book of Joshua, chapter 13, verse 4. From the south, all the land of the Canaanites, and Marah, that is beside the Sidonians.
What?
That is beside the Sidonians.
That's Sidon. The Sidonians, Sidon. Namely the Sidonians. In the south of all the land of the Canaanites, and Marah, that is beside the Sidonians. Go ahead.
Unto Aphek, to the borders of the Amorites.
You read the verse 6. Go ahead.
And there's land of the Gibeonites.
Land of the Gibeonites. Keep that name in mind. The Gibeonites are the Gebalites. Gebal. Children of Gebal are Gibeonites. Go ahead.
And all Lebanon toward the sun rising.
And what? In all Lebanon toward the what?
Sun rising.
The sunrise. What verse is that? It was verse 6?
Verse 5.
Go ahead.
From Baal Gad, under Mount Hermon, unto the entering into Hamath. Mm-hmm. All the inhabitants of the hill country from Lebanon unto Misrephothmaim, and all Sidonians. Then will I drive out from before the children of Israel. Only divide thou it by lot unto the Israelites for inheritance, as I have commanded thee.
So he ran out the Sidonians out of the land of Canaan. They were in the land. Remember, Canaanites, Canaan. Sidonians are Canaanites. Same thing. So we eventually, with Joshua, we chased them out of the land, took the land over, which was ours anyway, based upon a promise to Abraham, took it over, ran them out, and they took and left some of them remaining. Let's get 19, same book, 19, verse 24. We're going to read to verse 29. All right.
The book of Joshua, chapter 19, verse 24. And the fifth lot came out for the tribe of the children of Asher, according to their families. And their border was Helkath, and Helai, and Bethan, and Ashkenaz, and Alamelech, and Amad, and Mishael, and reacheth to Carmel westward, and to Shehoth Lebanath.
Now I'm going to give y'all, with all this reading we're doing, I'm going to give y'all the illustrations. I know Israel's visual learners. I'm going to give y'all the actual map illustrations of what we're reading regarding the allotment of lands, okay? After we took the land of Canaan over. All right, go ahead.
Verse 26. And
I'm stopping at verse 29. Go ahead.
And Alamelech, and Amad, and Mishael, and reacheth to Carmel westward unto Shehor-Lebanath, and turneth toward the sunrise into Beth-Dagon, and reacheth to Zebulun.
That land they shared is Asher and Zebulun were close together. Go ahead.
And to the valley of Jephthahel, toward the north side Bethamelech, and Nael, and goeth out to Kabul unto on the left hand.
And goeth out to Kabul. Goeth out to Kabul. Keep that name in mind. It will come around later. To Kabul. Go ahead.
And Hebron, and Rehob, and Haman, and Canaan, even unto great Zidon.
Sidon, same thing. Go ahead.
And then the coast turneth to Ramah, and to the strong city Tyre.
The strong what?
And to the strong city Tyre.
Unto the strong city Tyre. Tyre is a city. You all the time read about Tyre and Sidon. The Sidonians resided in Tyre. Okay, Tyre is a city of the Sidonians. Tyre is a city of the Sidonians. Okay, their capital. Go ahead.
And the coast turneth to Hosah, and the outgoings thereof are at the sea from the coast to Akzib.
That's all I want. So Tyre was the city of the Sidonians. Let's get Judges chapter 1, verse 1. We got a whole bunch of scriptures first because I got a lot of books to go over. So I'm going to go all scripts first and jot the books after all the scripts come out. Judges 1, verse 1, then 2 and 1. Then 2, verse 1.
Judges chapter 1, verse 1. Now after the death of Joshua, it came to pass that the children of Israel asked the Lord, saying, who shall go up for us against the Canaanites first, to fight against them?
Right, to fight against the Canaanites. So Sidonians, same thing. His children, Canaan's children, Sidonians, to fight against them to take the land, to take possession of the land. Get 2, verse 1.
Judges chapter 2, verse 1. And an angel of the Lord came up from Gilgal to Bochim and said, I made you to go up out of Egypt, and have brought you unto the land which I swear unto your fathers. And I said, I would never break my covenant with you.
We're going to read to verse 7. Go ahead. We'll read to verse 13, but go ahead.
And ye shall make no league with the inhabitants of this land. Ye shall throw down their altars,
destroy their gods, destroy their religions. Go ahead.
But ye have not obeyed my voice.
Then listen. Go ahead.
Why have ye done this?
Go ahead. Because Joshua is dead. So Israel started going buck wild because Joshua is gone now. It's known to restrain them for being simple as hell. Go ahead.
Verse 3. Wherefore I also said, I will not drive them out from before you, but they shall be as thorns in your sides, and their God shall be a snare unto you.
So the initial action of Israel was to go into the promised land and conquer all of them out the land. When Joshua died, Israel strayed from that and decided to start dealing with the nations and worshiping their gods. So the Lord said, for you doing that, I'm not going to remove them out the land entirely. For you doing that. But they're going to be thorns in your sides, and their gods will be a snare unto you because you're rebellious and simple. Go ahead.
Verse 4. And it came to pass, when the angel of the Lord spake these words unto all the children of Israel, that the people lifted up their voice and wept. And they called the name of that place Bochim. And they sacrificed there unto the Lord.
Bochim means weeper, weep to cry. Go ahead.
And when Joshua had let the people go, the children of Israel went every man unto his inheritance to possess the land.
Yeah. Verse 7, watch this.
And the people served the Lord all the days of Joshua, and all the days of the elders that outlived Joshua, who had seen all the great works of the Lord that he did for Israel.
Because Joshua didn't play with Israel. Joshua was putting Negroes to death. He did not play with them, and the elders under Joshua did not play with Israel either. When they all died, Israel went buck wild, started going the hell off. Read verse 8 to 13 now.
And Joshua the son of Nun, the servant of the Lord, died, being 110 years old. And they buried him in the border of his inheritance in Timnath-Heres, in the mount of Ephraim, on the north side of the hill of Gaash.
Right, because he was Ephraim. He was a tribe of Ephraim. Go ahead.
And also all that generation were gathered unto their fathers. And there arose another generation after them, which knew not the Lord, nor yet the works which he had done for Israel.
Generation of morons. Israel was rebellious. The elders are rebellious. Their kids came out rebellious too. Go ahead.
And the children of Israel did evil in the sight of the Lord, and served Baal. And they forsook the Lord God of their fathers, which brought them out of the land of Egypt, and followed other gods, of the people that were round about them, and bowed themselves unto them, and provoked the Lord to anger.
Go ahead.
And they forsook the Lord, and served Baal and Ashtaroth.
Serve Baal and Easter, or Ashtaroth. That's what we decided to do. So now let's go to read down to verse 23. I'm trying to pace myself. Yeah, read verse 23 now. Yeah, read verse 14 to 23. Go ahead. We'll finish the whole chapter. Go ahead.
And verse 14. And the anger of the Lord was hot against Israel, and he delivered them into the hands of the spoilers that spoiled them.
Our enemies. Go ahead.
And he sold them into the hands of their enemies round about.
It's in slavery. Go ahead.
So that they could not any longer stand before their enemies. Whithersoever they went out, the hand of the Lord was against them for evil, as the Lord had said, and as the Lord had sworn unto them. And they were greatly distressed.
They were miserable. Go ahead.
Nevertheless, the Lord raised up judges, which delivered them out of the hand of those that spoiled them.
The Most High was always merciful unto us, regardless of our actions. Go ahead.
And yet they would not hearken unto their judges.
Even didn't listen to our leaders either. The Most High was send us saviors. We would disrespect them too. Go ahead.
But they went a whoring after other gods, and bowed themselves unto them. They turned quickly out of the way which their fathers walked in, obeying the commandments of the Lord, but they did not so.
Go ahead.
And when the Lord raised them up judges, then the Lord was with the judge, and delivered them out of the hand of their enemies all the days of the judge. For repented the Lord because of their groanings by reason of them that oppressed them and vexed them.
So the Lord will always be merciful unto us. He will send us saviors. They deliver us. Then we go off, go on slavery again. He send someone to save us again, over and over, and back and forth again and again and again. The Lord was always merciful unto us, and we were always rebellious. Go ahead.
And it came to pass, when the judge was dead, that they returned and corrupted themselves more than their fathers.
See, we got worse. So whenever a judge died, we got worse. Go ahead.
And following other gods to serve them, and to bow down unto them, they ceased not from their own doings, nor from their stubborn way.
You wouldn't listen. Go ahead.
And the anger of the Lord was hot against Israel. And he said, because that this people have transgressed my covenant, which I commanded their fathers, and have not hearkened unto my voice, I also will not henceforth drive out any from before them of the nations which Joshua left when he died, that through them I may prove Israel.
So the nations that we were supposed to go in there and kill out of the land, the Lord said, no, I'm going to keep them there to see if they're going to either serve them or serve me. Go ahead.
That through them I may prove Israel.
I may test to see if they're sincerely going to follow me or not. Go ahead.
Where they will keep the way of the Lord to walk therein, as their fathers did keep it or not. Therefore the Lord left those nations without driving them out hastily.
So we would go in there and conquer the nations out, but slowly. Go ahead.
Neither deliver he them into the hand of Joshua.
Joshua didn't successfully kill off all the nations he was trying to kill out of the land. Because the Most High knew once Joshua passed on, Israel was going to rebel and be simple, as we are even more so today. Now, let's get that 3 verse 1 to 3.
Judges chapter 3, verse 1. Now these are the nations which the Lord left, to prove Israel by them, even as many of Israel as had not known all the wars of Canaan,
You didn't know how to fight. Go ahead.
only that the generations of the children of Israel might know, to teach them war.
So the Most High left the nations around so we can learn how to fight, how to defend ourselves. You needed some kind of practicing, some kind of punching bag, pretty much. Go ahead.
At the least, such as before knew nothing thereof.
Go ahead.
Namely, 5 lords of the Philistines,
Left them behind.
and all the Canaanites,
Left them behind.
and the Sidonians,
Sidonians, children of Canaan. Go ahead.
and the Hivites,
That's children of Heth. Oh, that's Hittites. Sorry, go ahead. Hivites. Go ahead.
that dwelt in Mount Lebanon, from Mount Baal Hermon unto the entering in of Hamath.
Of Syria. So now, let's go to Wikipedia real quick. Tyre. I'm not gonna use Wikipedia because I get a lot of comments. Wikipedia can be easily altered. So I'm just using this because it's a quick reference. I'm gonna use other sources also, which are more concrete. But I want to use this for now. Go to Wikipedia, Tyre. I sent you out a link. I don't gotta type that in, but I sent you the link. That's just faster, whatever's faster.
Etymology. Early names of Tyre include Akkadian, Suru, Phoenician, and Hebrew. In Semitic languages, the name of the city means rock, after the rocky formation on which the town was originally built. The official name in modern Arabic is Sur.
Sure. Go ahead.
The predominant form in classical Greek was Tyros,
Tyros. So that's where we get
Tyros.
Tyre from. Tyros. Go ahead.
which was first seen in the works of Herodotus, but may have been adopted considerably earlier. It gave rise to Latin Tyrus,
Gave rise to the Latin Tyrus. So Tyrus. Go ahead.
which entered English during the Middle English period as Tyre.
Right.
The demonym for Tyre is Tyrian,
So you are an inhabitant of Tyre. You are a Tyrian. Go ahead.
and the inhabitants are Tyranian.
Right. The Sidonians are Tyrians. Tyrians. All I wanted. Now, let's go to. You gotta stay in there. Look for Phoenician. Is that in here? No. Go to Bible Study Tools. Go to Bible Study Tools. Bible Study Tools now. Tyre. This is more of a better website to use. Slowly gonna wean away from Wikipedia after a while. Slowly. Once in a while over there. Okay, we're gonna read this here, Cat. Tyre. All right, let's blow it up. Okay, take the mice off. Blow it up some, you can. Or you can read that, Cat. It's good enough.
Tyre, a rock. Now Esur,
Right, it's Sur. Sur, same thing as Wikipedia said. That's why it's concrete. It's Sur. Sur, whatever. Go ahead.
an ancient Phoenician city, about 23 miles, in a direct line north of Acre, and 20 south of Sidon. Sidon was the oldest Phoenician city, but Tyre had a longer and more illustrious history. The commerce of the... Sorry.
Can you make it bigger, please? Make it bigger.
Yeah.
Make it bigger, please. You don't need that whole right side. We don't need that. Just blow up this everything. Just make everything. Yeah, make it up. Move it in some. Move it in some. Then you gotta move it over. Can't like blow it up. We can just get rid of the right hand side. All right. Do what you gotta
The
do.
commerce of the whole world was gathered into the warehouse of Tyre.
The commerce of the whole world was gathered into the warehouse of Tyre. Tyre was ancient Amazon or Walmart. That's what it was. Most of it is I'll show you that scripturally later on in the series. But Tyre was like the Walmart, Amazon of ancient times. Everything you want to buy was there. Everyone went there. All nations went there. Go ahead.
Tyrian merchants were the first who ventured to navigate the Mediterranean waters.
Tyrian merchants were the first who ventured to navigate the Mediterranean waters. So remember, Canaan and them were around before Israel was even born. So they already had knowledge of sailing the seas, navigating the seas. Go ahead.
And they founded their colonies on the coast and neighboring islands of the Aegean Sea
Agency.
in Greece, on the northern coast of Africa.
The northern coast of Africa. So the Phoenicians are there. In this particular instance, the Tyrians, the Sidonians, they had parts of Greece. They had parts of North Africa as well. They inhabited. Go ahead.
At Carthage and other places.
And at Carthage is North Africa. It's the top tip of Africa, north called Carthage. Go ahead.
And Sicily.
And they were in Sicily also. They had parts. They resided up there as well. Sicily as well. Go ahead. That's southern Italy. Go ahead.
And Corsica.
I don't know what that is. Go ahead.
And Spain at the Tartessus. And even beyond
Tartessus. Go ahead.
Tartessus. And even beyond the Pillars of Hercules.
The Pillars of Hercules is the area of land that connects Europe with Africa. Okay, because Africa and Europe connect. It's called the Straits of Gibraltar or Straits of Hercules. There's like a little line of land there, okay, where it connects Africa with Europe. That's what of Hercules. We're gonna find that, read that a lot. Pillars of Hercules. We're gonna come across that a lot of times in the series. Go ahead.
At Gadara.
Cadiz. We're gonna come across Cadiz as well. Gadara is Cadiz. Come across that as well. Go ahead.
In the time of David, a friendly alliance was entered into between the Hebrews and the Tyrians.
Right, between the time of David, between us and Tyrians. Go ahead.
Who were long ruled over by their native king.
Right, go ahead.
Tyre consisted of two distinct parts.
Right, Tyre consisted of two. That's what we want here. Tyre consisted of two distinct parts. Go ahead.
A rocky fortress on the mainland.
A rocky fortress on the mainland. Go ahead.
Called Old Tyre.
That's where they originally inhabited. That was their capital. Old Tyre was on the mainland, but they had another part. Go ahead.
And a city built on a small rocky island about half a mile distant from the shore.
That's called New Tyre. That's an island off the coast of Tyre in the middle of the ocean. Okay, that's what we refer to as New Tyre. So Old Tyre is the mainland. New Tyre is the island. All right. Now, let's get Caesar and Christ on page 39. We're going to start at where it says some. We're going to end at Phoenicians. All right. This book here, page 39. Use this book mad times. It's called Caesar and Christ. We used it numerous times. That's why I'm saying the name. We used it all the time. We're going to start at where it says some, and we're going to end at Phoenicians. Go ahead.
Some 1100 years before our era, the inquisitive traders of Phoenicia discovered the mineral wealth of Spain.
Now, Phoenicia is another name for Canaan. Okay, Phoenicia, Canaan is the same name, same exact name. Same, well, not name, but same place. All right, go ahead. Don't keep reading down to a stop. We're going to stop at Phoenicians. That's Phoenicia, Phoenicians. I'll let you know.
Soon a fleet of merchant vessels plied between Sidon, Tyre, and Byblus at one end of the Mediterranean and at Tartessus.
Remember that word before, Tartessus. Go ahead. We're there earlier. Go ahead.
At the mouth of the
Guadalquivir, whatever. Go ahead.
On the other, since such voyages could not then be made without many stops, and the southern shores of the Mediterranean provided the shortest and safest route, the Phoenicians established intermediate posts and trading stations on the African coast at Leptis Magna.
Leptis Magna is Libya. Leptis Magna is Libya, now Libya. That's where Septimius Severus is from. Leptis Magna. He was Israel also. He was the first black emperor of Rome. He's from Leptis Magna, aka Libya, which is also a part of land that the Sidonians took possession of. All right, they had possession of land from Libya all the way to like North Africa, Tunis, the whole top right hand side of Africa. Go ahead.
Now Libya,
Libya, same thing. Go ahead.
Hiram Nurim.
Right, I don't know what that is.
Yeah. Sus, Utica,
right. That's Utica's right next door to Carthage. It's on the map. Right next to you have Tunis and you have Utica right over to the right. Go ahead.
Hippodrytas.
Right. Go ahead.
Hipporegius.
These are the Latin names, I believe. Go ahead.
And even beyond Gibraltar.
Remember, that's the Pillars of Hercules, Straits of Gibraltar. As you cross, once you get to the Straits of Gibraltar, into Europe, you go into Africa, right into Europe. Go ahead.
At Lixus. South of Tangier.
Go ahead.
The Semitic settlers.
That's what we want to deal with. The Semitic. Now, the term Phoenician is a very, very annoying word because the term Phoenician, the original Phoenicians were Canaanites. Over time, that changed. Okay, the term Phoenician was a term that the Romans gave the Israelites that resided in Phoenicia. Okay, so some authors are retarded, they don't know anything. So you gotta be mindful. So some authors refer to the Canaanites as Phoenicians. Okay, but the reality is that the Romans refer to the Semites among the Hamites as Phoenicians. All right, but some authors use both interchangeably. So you gotta be mindful. So I'll let y'all know when it's referring to us and when it's not. So in this instance here, it's referring to us. Keep going.
The Semitic settlers, even beyond Gibraltar, Alixus, south of Tangier, the Semitic settlers at these posts married some of the natives and bribed the rest of peace.
Right, and bribed the rest of peace. They were well off. Go ahead.
About 813 BC, a new group of colonists, perhaps from Phoenicia, perhaps from expanding Utica, built their homes upon a promontory 10 miles northwest
of modern Tunis.
Of the modern Tunis.
That's Carthage, modern day Tunis. Go ahead.
The narrow peninsula could be easily defended, and the land, watered by the Bagredas and the Medjarda River, was so fertile that it quickly recovered from the repeated devastation. Classic tradition ascribed to the founding of the city of to Alyssus.
To Alyssa. Alyssa is the alleged founder of Carthage, a Canaanite princess, they say. Go ahead.
Or Dido.
Or Dido. Go ahead.
Daughter of the king of Tyre.
Right. So she's real, from what I've read. Go ahead.
Her husband having been slain by her brother, she has sailed with other adventurous souls to Africa.
Right.
Her settlement was called Carthage.
Jake was there too. It says her settlers, Jake was amongst them. Go ahead.
Newtown, to distinguish it from Utica.
Right. So her settlement was called Carthage or Carthage or Newtown. So Carthage comes from Carthage, Newtown. Go ahead.
The Greeks transformed the name into Carchadon.
Carchadon, go ahead.
The Romans into Carthago.
The Romans into Carthago, go ahead.
The Latins gave the name Africa to the region around Carthage and Utica.
We're going to find out why the Latins or Romans gave the name Africa to the region around Carthage and Utica. That's very important. It says the Romans or Latins gave the name Africa to the region around Carthage and Utica. Only that portion of the land of the continent was referred to as Africa. Later on, the entire continent was named Africa. But initially, only that portion of land that was conquered by Rome was named Africa, Carthage and Utica. Go ahead.
And follow the Greeks and call it its Semitic population.
There we go. And following the Greeks and calling it Semitic population. Because the Canaanites are what? The Canaanites came out of who? They came out of Ham. These are not Semites. So it says the Greeks and Romans named the Semitic population of the Phoenicians, called them what?
Pawnee.
Called them Pawnee or what?
Phoenicians.
Or Phoenicians. An example, they called us Phoenicians. Okay, they called us Phoenicians. So the Canaanites was Canaanites. The Canaanites never ever referred to themselves as Phoenicians. The Greeks referred to the Israelites among them, or within that landmass, which would be Canaan, as Phoenicians. Us. That's all we want to stop at. So now, let's go to ancient Phoenicia. Google ancient Phoenicia. Just type in ancient Phoenicia. I didn't send you that. Just Google, type in ancient Phoenicia. Okay, that's the mainland. That's Tyre, the old Tyre there. And Sidon's above it. Okay, then you have the island of New Tyre, but it's not showing it here. But this is their trade route. You see how it's the Mediterranean Sea here? And you have Tangier, read that earlier. Tangier, you have Sardinia, you have Lepsis here, you have Cyrene, that's Libya right there, which is in Acts 2. Go to the right, bottom right there. You have Crete right there up top, island of Crete. Cyprus over there. You have Sicily right there. This is their trade route here, okay? And you have Tangier over there. And then when you go further to you have Iberia, Spain. You go further to your left, you end up in the Atlantic Ocean. And they sailed that also. We sailed that too. Okay? And you had, of course, the Adriatic Sea, Aegean Sea right there. See, we mentioned that earlier. Aegean Sea up to the top right, right over Crete. See, Aegean Sea. So it all links together. Aegean Sea floods into the Mediterranean Sea. Mediterranean Sea, the Adriatic Sea floods into the Mediterranean Sea. Mediterranean Sea floods into the Atlantic Ocean and blah, blah, blah. Go down, commercial network. Go down, we see? See, commercial network of the, that's what I wanted. There we go. The commercial network of the Phoenicians, Phoenicia trade route. So the Sidonians, this is their initial trade route. When we took over Canaan, we took their trade route too. All right? Took their trade route also. We started selling along with them. You know, Israel started mingling with them, judges. We started mingling with the other nations, started mingling with them, living with them and so forth, and we started selling along with them as well. All right? Remember, I read earlier, it says that Tyre was like the Walmart or Amazon of ancient time. Israel got jobs. We would sail along with them and deal in trade. So now, let's go to the other book I want is page 216. This one, that one. All right, page 216. It's a book that's very, very impossible, if not hard to get. I'd say more so impossible than get. Page 216, and I want to read, just blow it all the way up, right there. This is the Los Lunas stone, covenant stone of ancient Israel found in North America near Rio Grande. Read that now.
The photograph at the bottom of this page shows.
Okay, hold on. Blow it up. Bring it up real fast. The stone. Show them the stone. Blow it up real quick so we can read it. See that stone right there? That's in Rio Grande. That's ancient Hebrew written on that stone there. Ancient Hebrew written there, okay? Not the nonsense Hebrew of today. And brothers claim they can speak and can't speak at all. This is the actual ancient Paleo. They call it Paleo Hebrew. It means ancient Hebrew. The initial. The Hebrew that was spoken around David and Solomon's time, that's it right there. Go back up. Read that.
The photograph at the bottom of this page shows the 10 Commandments written in the primary Paleo Hebrew, script written on a large stone found in the 1800s at Los Lunas.
Where?
New Mexico.
Where?
New Mexico.
Where?
Los Lunas, New Mexico.
New Mexico. Now, I can't talk about old Spain without first talking about New Spain. Because when the Spaniards conquered Mexico, they named it España. It means New Spain. Before I touch on Old Spain, when we ruled it, I'm going to touch on New Spain first. I'm working my way backwards. So this is a stone. Native Americans wrote Paleo Hebrew in Mexico. The same ones they say aren't Israelites. You know, them. Y'all going to enjoy this class. Y'all going to enjoy this series. I'm doing Mexicans first, just for you. It says Los Lunas, New Mexico, near the Rio Grande. So this is a stone written by them, okay, on the stone. Go ahead.
Near the Rio Grande. This stone carving could be 3,000 years old.
That's about right. Go ahead.
And it contains the name Yahweh.
Yahweh. Go ahead.
It was written in obedience to Deuteronomy 6.
Because this is the opening to a village. It's a big rock. Remember it says on all your gates. So they wrote the commandments on their gates. Where did they learn that from? Where did these Mexicans learn that from? Aren't they heathens? Continue.
As we are write them on our doorposts.
Right, as we have to write them on our doorposts according to Deuteronomy 6 and 4. Go ahead. Or Deuteronomy 6. Go ahead.
This stone was at the entrance to an ancient colony or settlement of Israelites that had navigated up the Rio Grande.
Oh, of ancient who?
Israelites.
Oh, okay.
That had navigated up the Rio Grande.
In Mexico. Ancient Israelites in Mexico. Interesting. I thought Mexicans was heathens, cat. Go ahead, continue.
The style of the letter Yod used on the stone indicates that the Israelites of the northern 10 tribes Samaritans were in North America.
Where?
We're in North America.
Oh, interesting. Keep going.
It could have been inscribed on this stone as early as the 9th century BCE.
9th century BC during the who?
During the reign of King Solomon.
Oh, so they navigated here around King Solomon's time. It's kind of weird. I thought they got here around the time of the Persians. We'll get to that later on in the series. 9th century. 9th century is 900s. And when it comes to BC, 9th century is 900s. And if it was AD, it'll be 800s. It's backwards. Don't ask. I don't know why, but that's how it is. So 900s BC. Pay attention to these dates. You're gonna come across the year 1000 numerous times throughout this series. 1000. You better write that down because I'm not saying it again. The series is like it's gonna be months of this. So in the year 1000, you may come across 1500 years ago or 1000 years ago. It's pretty much on the same range. All right. So 9th century BC. That's when this stuff was written on that stone during the time of King Solomon. Go ahead. Or as what?
Or as late as 146 BCE.
Hold on. Or as late as 146 BCE. What?
When the Carthaginians, Israelites.
Or when the Carthaginians, Israelites did what?
Were conquered by Rome.
And then the Romans named the land after the conqueror. Africanus. So they came over here during that time, or they came over here during the time of Solomon. But he says Carthaginians are Israelites. Okay? Because oftentimes some authors refer to the Phoenicians as Carthaginians. The Carthaginians are the Semitic population we read about earlier that inhabited North Africa. That's us. That shared land with the Canaanites when they migrated into that area of land. Go ahead.
Many diasporas.
Many what?
Many diasporas.
Many what now?
Many diasporas.
Many diasporas. Go ahead.
Occurred. But we now know that the Israel was mostly a sea empire.
Because we ended up involving ourselves in the same business as the Sidonians were involved in. We took the land over from them. Remember they read that earlier? In Joshua and Judges? We took their land over. We took their business too. Go ahead.
And they were called Phoenicians by the Greeks.
And Israel was called Phoenicians by the Greeks. Go ahead.
Yes. The Phoenicians were Israelites.
They were not Sidonians. They were not the Canaanites. They were Israelites. So I mentioned earlier, is that the Greeks and Romans referred to the Semitic population of Phoenicians as Phoenicians, pretty much. Go ahead. Or Israelites. Go ahead.
They didn't call themselves Phoenicians.
We did not call ourselves Phoenicians. Go ahead.
Herodotus, 5th century BCE, called them that.
Read that name earlier, Herodotus. Go ahead. Call them that. Go ahead.
The Israelites traveled the oceans of the world.
We traveled the oceans of the world. What oceans did we travel? The Indian Ocean we traveled. The Atlantic Ocean we traveled. Pacific, we traveled the Pacific. We traveled a whole lot of places. We're going to find that out all throughout the series, where exactly we traveled in these areas and where we settled while sailing these oceans. Because we didn't just sail and not stay in those places. We sailed and some of us said, hey, I'm going to stay here. I ain't going nowhere. We'll get to that later on in the series. Go ahead.
As they mined tin.
As we mined tin in certain areas that will remain nameless until later on. Go ahead.
Copper.
We mined copper.
Gold. And iron. Did you know that the distance from the western coast of Africa to South America is less than the width of the Mediterranean Sea?
Remember, it's very small. It's a very small distance between the West Africa and South America. So, for example, let's say I'm in West African country. Give me one. What's that? I'm in Ghana. From Ghana to Brazil is next door neighbors. Right across. It's next door. Go ahead.
Columbus didn't discover the Americas.
He did not discover the Americas. Go ahead.
Israelites were already living here.
Israelites were already living here. Does it say heathens were already living there?
Israelites were already living here.
Okay. Go ahead. I thought I misread something. Go ahead.
And many became that are now referred to as Native Americans.
Get go back to the ancient go back to the map again, the trade routes again. Go back to the trade routes again. Okay, remember I said earlier, from west coast of Africa to Americas is the same width as the Mediterranean Sea. So pretty much if Africa were Asia, America would be Memphis. That's not far at all of a travel distance. You understand? So from Iberia to No, not even that. From like, yeah, I think that's the best example. Asia to Memphis will be the width of the Mediterranean Sea. So Asia will be, in terms of distance, Africa, west coast of Africa, and Memphis will be South America, Brazil, and so forth. That's the distance between. Not too far at all. All right? So it wouldn't be a problem sailing from one side to the other. Keep that in mind. Let's go to the Bible Atlas. I used to use this all the time in my Monday night classes. Those of you who've been around for a while, I used to have Monday night classes, and I would always use this book. It's called Bible Atlas, with charts and biblical reconstructions. This is it here. All right, this is the book right here. I'll put it for the screen. This is common. All you can get it. It's not hard to get. It's called the Bible Atlas, with charts and biblical reconstructions. Holman. All right. I want page 142 and 143. I think they both come together. Let me go to 144. Just order. Okay. That one? Oh, there you go. What page is this? Is that 2 pages in one? Like it's on top of the other? Let me see something. Look, man, confusing. Let me see. Glad I brought it. Oh, I see how it is. I see what they did. Okay, it's on top. That's fine. That's fine. Let's see. Give me 1 second. Why did I want that? Okay, the allotments of land. All right. So on the right here on top, you see Aram. Aram would be Syria. Aram or Hamath, Syria. Hamath is central Syria. Aram is Syria. So you have Tyre up there. You see Tyre right here. All right, that's the Sidonians, Canaan. Look at the bottom, you have Philistia, the Philistines right there, Palestine, same thing. You see Judah right there and Israel right there. Next, a little up. That's why it's called Southern Kingdom. Israel's up north, Judah's down south. Why we love the south so much, I have no idea. South, north. And you have Moab next door to Judah and Israel. And you have Ammon next door as well. Keep that in mind. And you have Edom right in the bottom. And you have, you see Ezion-Geber right there. Look, go out of the bottom under Edom. Keep that place in mind. It's very important. Ezion-Geber. We'll get to that later on. I just want you guys to focus on these things. You might want to write this down. If I say remember, you better write it down. You'll be lost. All right. So we have go down to the next map. See right there to the right, to the top left, Phoenicia. Okay, that's Canaan. Canaan, Phoenicia, same thing. Israel. When Israel took the land over, the Greeks and Romans referred to us that lived there as Phoenicians. The original inhabitants of Phoenicia were the Canaanites. So some scholars refer to them as Phoenicians, when in reality, the Phoenicians was us. The Greeks and Romans refer to the Israelites as Phoenicians. Some authors foolishly refer to the Canaanites as Phoenicians. No, we were the Phoenicians, okay? But the Sidonians or Canaanites resided there. Remember, it was because Israel was rebellious, we didn't conquer all of Canaan out the land. So they maintained some portions of land within, which is Sidon and Tyre, okay? And you have New Tyre, which is in the middle of the ocean to the left. And go down, you see Bashan, you see Ashtaroth, which we worship, being foolish. And you see Megiddo there, you see Israel up north, you see Gilead, go down, you see Canaan right there, Canaan, Philistia, Canaan. All right, that's all ours. Philistia, Canaan, Judah to the bottom. All right, go down. Amalek over there is this demonic self to the left. Edom to the right. Moab to the top right. And Ammon up above him. All right, the Corona brothers. All right, let's go over to the next page. Corona twins. The next one. Page 145. Get the allotments of land now. Now I want y'all to pay attention to this. This is very important. This map is important. All right. This allotment of land is very important. Blow this up. I don't need the bottom. Matter of fact, you can blow it up. Get the bottom first so we get the idea what's going on, what it's showing us. Get the bottom. That's the land being divided. No, I don't want that. That's the land being divided. Go back up. Go back up. Pull this up. Make this whole map. You can make this map bigger if you can. If that's as far as you can go, fine. You make it bigger? Yeah, there you go. More. Okay, we'll just scroll down as I want more. Bring it up. All right. Mount Hermon. Okay. You have Kadesh. What's that? Asher. See, okay. Bring it up some. Cut the top. I don't need the top. Bring it down some. Bring it down some. More. Right there. Now, I want you to remember, you see Asher is next to the sea. Okay? Asher is right in the sea. Get the green. There's a green. Asher's there. You see Zebulon right there, next door to Asher, right? And you see Issachar next door to Zebulon, right? Then you see Naphtali right above. So these four loved, the Manasseh is always to the right. But I want you to focus on these main four here. Asher, Zebulon, Issachar, and Naphtali. But the main three I want you to focus on is Asher, Zebulon, and Issachar. These three always stay together. Always. Even on other parts of the world, they always stay close together. I'll say it again. Even in other parts of the world, they always stay close together. Asher, Zebulon, Issachar. Now, the places the lands may be rearranged, but they always stayed close together. And Asher was the seafaring one. Zebulon's, their ensign is the ship, if y'all recall. All right? But Asher and Zebulon, they were the seafaring. Issachar was also the seafaring ones as well. Okay, so when Canaan and them, or the ancient Walmart, had their little navigation, those three in particular would go and travel or intermingle with them. Okay, the Canaanites. Let's get page 144. That's 143, right? That's 143? That's 145. Damn, did I go ahead? Let me see. All right, give me Sidon Island. Google Sidon Island. You let that go. We'll revisit that map later regarding the allotments of land with those four. Get me Sidon Island. All right, remember I said old Tyre? Where's old Tyre? Remember? Do y'all remember where old Tyre is? Who remembers where old Tyre is? Stand up. Who remembers where old Tyre is? Just speak loud. Right, is it, where is it? Is it on land or sea? Nope. Yeah. It's on land. Old Tyre is the mainland. New Tyre is the island. All right? So you have Sidon Sea Castle. I don't really want to go to images. Go to images. Okay. Right there. That is Sidon today. Right there to the third image there. Sidon. That's New Tyre. That's Sidon Island. Or Zerah Island. Zerah Island. See right there? Go to the fourth one. See it says it? Zerah Island. That's it. Okay, rocky. That's what Tyre means. Rocky, a tiny rocky land. So, right, if you see the Zerah Island, right, go to the second row, the third of the second row. The second row of images, the third one, right there. See that? So if you look in the background, that's the mainland. That's the island right there, and you have the mainland. So that's New Tyre right there, and Old Tyre in the background. You understand? Keep that in mind. That's very important to remember. Let's go to Britannica. Wikipedia don't like that anymore. Britannica.com, Tyre. Okay? Tyre and Britannica.com. That was crazy. They're very loud, but they can't speak it anyway. They can't speak Paleo Hebrew anyway. They can barely speak English. Tyre. We're gonna stop at this is Tyre, modern Arabic Sur, Tor, Sor, Latin Tiris, Hebrew Zor, Tor, same thing. Go down where it says built on. Go down. Go up. I'm sorry. Go up real quick. I'm sorry about that. Go up. That's the ruins of it. It was a major Phoenician seaport from about 2000 BC to the Roman period. See that? So they already had a little trade routes and business going on before Israel was even in existence. Remember, Canaan was around long before Israel was born. Israel was the last nation conceived. We are the baby of nations, Jacob. Everybody came before us. Everyone came before Israel. Everyone. Even Esau came before us. A few minutes, but he came before us too. All right? It's a twin, evil twin. Go down to built. Go down to say built upon. Built upon. Go down. Right there, Tyre built. We're gonna let you want to stop. We stop at rival in the west. Close ties of Israel. We'll stop at close ties of Israel. So we stop. Go ahead.
Tyre, built on an island and on a neighboring mainland, was probably original.
Tyre, built on an island and on the neighboring mainland. See that? Old Tyre, new Tyre, old Tyre, new Tyre, old Tyre. Or Tiris, whatever. Go ahead.
Was probably originally founded as a colony of Sidon.
Right, as a colony of Sidon. Remember the map, it showed Sidon and it showed Tyre. Sidon is the Sidonians or Canaanites. Go ahead. They founded the colony. Go ahead.
Mentioned in the Egyptian records of the 14th century BCE as being subject to Egypt. Tyre became independent when Egyptian influence in Phoenicia declined. It later surpassed Sidon as a trade center.
It surpassed Sidon because Sidon was their initial business area, but then Tyre took over. Go ahead.
Developing commercial relations with all parts of the Mediterranean world.
Japheth, primarily with Japheth at the time. Go ahead.
In the 9th century BCE, colonists from Tyre founded the North African city of Carthage.
Which they say started with Dido or Elissa. Go ahead.
Which later became Rome's principal rival in the West.
Right.
The town is frequently mentioned in the Bible, Old and New Testament, as having had close ties with Israel.
And they did. Now, the town, that's all I want. Let's go to 2 Samuel 5, verse 4. 2 Samuel 5, verse 4.
2 Samuel chapter 5, verse 4. David was 30 years old when he began to reign. He reigned 40 years. In Hebron, he reigned over Judah 7 years and 6 months. In Jerusalem, he reigned 33 years over all Israel and Judah. And the king and his men went to Jerusalem unto the Jebusites, the inhabitants of the land, which spake unto David, saying, Except thou take away the blind and the lame, thou shalt not come in hither. Thinking David cannot come in hither.
They talking mess. Go ahead.
Nevertheless, David took strong hold of Zion. The same is the city of David.
He took hold of Zion, the same as our city of David. Go ahead.
And David said on that day, Whosoever getteth up to the gutter and smiteth the Jebusites, and the lame and the blind.
You can stop at verse 11. Go ahead.
The lame and the blind that are hated of David's soul, he shall be chief and captain. Wherefore they said, The blind and the lame shall not come into the house.
Yeah.
So David dwelt in the fort and called in the city of David, and David built round about from Milo and inward. And David went on and grew great. And the Lord God of hosts was with him. And Hiram, king of Tyre,
and Hiram, king of Tyre, go ahead,
sent messengers to David, and cedar trees, and carpenters, and masons. And they built David an house.
So Hiram, king of Tyre, they had, as I said earlier, they had close relations, close ties. We just left that in Britannica, that the Tyrian or Tyre had close ties with Israel, because king of Hiram, king of Tyre, and David were cool. He built David a house. These guys were heavy in resources. They had access to natural resources. Now let's get 1 Chronicle 14, verse 1. So Hiram, king of Tyre, is the important name. Okay?
1 Chronicles chapter 14, verse 1.
So remember, this topic is called this topic is called the two promised lands. All right? 1 Chronicle 14, verse 1.
Now Hiram, king of Tyre, sent messengers to David and timber of cedars with masons and carpenters to build him an house.
Right.
And David perceived that the Lord had confirmed him king over Israel.
Go on, that was verse 1. He built him a house. So get 22 now. 22 verse 1.
First Chronicles chapter 22 verse 1.
Right.
Then David said, "This is the house of the Lord God, and this is the altar of the burnt offerings for Israel." And David commanded to gather together the strangers that were in the land of Israel. And he set masons to hew wrought stones to build the house of God.
So David had the heathens that were left about in the promised land that we took over, of course, it was ours. He made them do what? Read again, verse 2.
And David commanded to gather together the strangers that were in the land of Israel.
Canaanites, go ahead.
And he set masons to hew wrought stones to build the house of God.
He made them hew stones. These guys are good with stonework. The Canaanites were skilled in stonework. Read verse 3 to 4.
And David prepared iron in abundance for the nails for the doors of the gates, and for the joinings, and brass in abundance without weight.
Go ahead.
Also cedar trees in abundance. For the Sidonians and they of Tyre brought much cedar wood to David.
Because remember Hiram. The Sidonians and they of Tyre brought much cedar wood to David. Go verse 5 to 8.
And David said, "Solomon my son is young and tender, and the house that is to be builded for the Lord must be exceedingly magnificent."
Magnifical. Go ahead.
Magnifical, of fame and of glory throughout all countries. I will therefore now make preparation for it. So David prepared abundantly before his death.
Trying to build it. Go ahead.
Then he called for Solomon his son and charged him to build an house for the Lord God of Israel. And David said to Solomon, "My son, as for me, it was in my mind to build an house unto the name of the Lord my God."
To build a temple. It was in my mind. I was going to do it, but I can't. Go ahead.
But the word of the Lord came to me, saying,
Saying what? Watch this.
"Thou hast shed blood abundantly."
You killed mad people, David. You can't build no temple. David was killing a whole lot of people. David was a warrior. He shed so much blood, the Lord said, "Nah, you can't build a temple. Too much blood in your hands." Go ahead.
"And has made great wars. Thou shalt not,
The great wars is what? Taking our land over. Taking our land back from the Canaanites. Go ahead.
thou shalt not build an house unto my name,
You can't. Go ahead.
because thou hast shed much blood upon the earth in my sight.
Kill too much. Go ahead.
Behold, a son shall be born to thee, who shall be a man of rest.
That's what Solomon means. Rest. Go ahead.
And I will give him rest from all his enemies round about.
I'll give Israel peace during the time he's building it. Go ahead.
For his name shall be Solomon, and I will give peace and quietness unto Israel in his days.
Go ahead.
He shall build an house for my name, and he shall be my son, and I will be his father, and I will establish the throne of his kingdom over Israel forever. Now, my son, the Lord be with thee, and prosper thou, and build the house of the Lord thy God, as he hath said of thee. Only the Lord give thee wisdom and understanding, and give thee charge concerning Israel, that thou mayest keep the law of the Lord thy God. Then shalt thou prosper, if thou takest heed to fulfill the statutes and commandments which the Lord charged Moses with concerning Israel. Be strong and of good courage. Dread not, nor be dismayed. Now, behold, in my trouble I had prepared for the house of the Lord 100,000 talents of gold, and 1,000,000 talents of silver, and of brass and of iron without weight. For it is in abundance. Timbered also in stone have I prepared, and thou mayest add thereto. Moreover, there are workmen with thee in abundance, hewers and workers of stone and timber, and all manner of cunning men of every manner of work. Of the gold, the silver, and the brass, and the iron, there is no number. Arise therefore, and be doing, and the Lord be with thee. David also commanded all the princes of Israel to help Solomon his son, saying, Is not the Lord your God with you? And hath he not given you rest on every side? For he hath given the inhabitants of the land into my hand, and the land is subdued before the Lord.
Right, through David. Go ahead.
And before his people.
Verse 19.
Now set your heart and your soul to seek the Lord your God. Arise therefore, and build ye the sanctuary of the Lord God, to bring the ark of the covenant of the Lord, and the holy vessels of God, into the house that is to be built to the name of the Lord.
Now, let's get chapter 28, verse 1 to 11. No, wait, verse 1, we'll be down. 28, verse 11. 20, verse 1.
First Chronicles chapter 28, verse 1.
Mm-hmm.
And David assembled all the princes of Israel, the princes of the tribes, and the captains of the companies that ministered to the king by course, and the captains of the thousands, and captains over the hundreds, and the stewards over all the substance and possessions of the king, and then of his sons with the officers, and with the mighty men, and with all valiant men unto Jerusalem. Then David the king stood up upon his feet, and said, Hear me, my brethren and my people. As for me, I had in my heart to build an house of rest for the ark of the covenant of the Lord, and for the footstool of our God, and had made ready for the building. But God said unto me, Thou shalt not build a house for my name, because thou hast been a man of war, and hast shed blood.
Right. Yeah.
Now, howbeit the Lord God of Israel chose me before all the house of my father to be king over Israel forever. For he hath chosen Judah to be the ruler, and of the house of Judah, the house of my father, and among the sons of my father he liked me to make me king over all Israel. And all of my sons, for the Lord hath given me many sons. He hath chosen Solomon my son to sit upon the throne of the kingdom of the Lord over Israel.
Right. So the kingdom of God is being over Israel. That's the kingdom of God. Go ahead.
And he said unto me, Solomon thy son, he shall build my house in my courts, for I have chosen him to be my son, and I will be his father.
Mm-hmm.
Moreover, I will establish his kingdom forever, if he be constant to do my commandments and my judgments, as at this day. Now therefore, in the sight of all Israel, the congregation of the Lord, and in the audience of our God, keep and seek for all the commandments of the Lord your God, that ye may possess this good land, and leave it for inheritance for your children after you forever.
Jump to verse 10.
Verse 10. Take heed now, for the Lord hath chosen thee to build an house for the sanctuary. Be strong and do it.
Verse 11.
Then David said to Solomon, his son, the pattern of the porch and of the houses thereof.
So the pattern. So what David did was, since David couldn't build the temple, David gave Solomon the blueprints that the Lord gave him. Because listen, here's the blueprints. Here's the layout. Here's the map. Here's how it is to be built. Okay, read again. 11.
Then David gave to Solomon his son the pattern of the porch.
The pattern. The Most High gave David the actual blueprint on how he wants the temple to be built. Amazing. Go ahead.
And of the houses thereof. And
the houses thereof. Go ahead.
And the treasuries thereof. And of the upper chambers thereof. And of the inner parlors thereof. And of the palace of the mercy seat.
Of the place of the mercy seat.
Of the place of the mercy seat.
Go ahead.
And the pattern of all that he had by the Spirit of the Lord, the courts of the house of the Lord.
The Spirit moved David to design the temple based upon God's complete and clear instructions. So David gave Solomon the blueprint on how to build it. Verbatim. Go ahead.
And of all the chambers round about, of the treasuries of the house of God, and of the treasuries of the dedicated things.
Read on.
Also for the courses of the priests and the Levites, and for all the work of the service of the house of the Lord, and for all the vessels of service in the house of the Lord.
David giving Solomon all these instructions regarding the temple, regarding the course of the Levites, how did it to work, everything. Go ahead.
He gave of gold by weight for things of gold, for all instruments of all manner of service. Silver also for all instruments of silver by weight, for all instruments of every kind of service. Even the weight for the candlesticks of gold, and for their lamps of gold, by weight for every candlestick, and for the lamps thereof, and for the candlesticks of silver by weight, both for the candlestick, and also for the lamps thereof, according to the use of every candlestick. And by weight he gave gold for the tables of shewbread, for every table, and likewise silver for the tables of silver.
This is the design. Go ahead. And he's decorating the place. Go ahead.
Also pure gold for the flesh hooks.
Pure gold. Not that fake gold. Pure gold for the flesh hooks. Go ahead.
And the bowls and the cups.
We had golden bowls. We had golden cups. Not no plastic cups. Not no glass cups. We had golden cups. Damn. Not this. This is not gold. Real gold cups. Go ahead.
And for the golden basons He gave
Basins.
gold basins. He gave gold by weight for every basin,
Damn.
and likewise silver by weight for every basin.
So we
of
had silver and gold set aside to make basins and plates and bowls and so forth. Go ahead.
And for the altar of incense, refined gold by weight, and gold for the pattern of the chariot of the cherubims.
Right. So we had gold that was used to build a chariot for the cherubims. Go ahead. The statues. Go ahead.
That spread out their wings and covered the ark of the covenant of the Lord.
Made of pure gold also. Watch this.
All this, said David, the Lord made me understand and writing by his hand upon me, even all the works of this pattern.
David said, the Lord showed me exactly what he wanted done. He put it in my mind. I wrote it out. Here's how you do it. So David was an architect. David was an architect. David said, listen, you're going to build it exactly how the Lord showed it to me in the spirit. That's how you're going to build it. Now, let's go to 29, chapter 29. We'll read this now, 28.
Yes.
Okay, 29, verse 1.
First Chronicles chapter 29, verse 1.
Mm-hmm.
Furthermore, David the king said unto all the congregation, Solomon my son, whom alone God hath chosen, is yet young and tender, and the work is great. For the palace is not for man, but for the Lord God.
That.
Now I have prepared with all my might for the house of my God the gold for the things to be made of gold, and the silver for things of silver, and the brass for things of brass, the iron for things of iron, and wood for things of wood, onyx stones, and stones to be set, glistering stones in a diverse colors, and all manner of precious stones, and marble stones in abundance.
Yeah, that temple was bad, man. All kind of expensive stones and gold. It was crazy. Go ahead. Marble. Go ahead.
Moreover, because I have set my affection to the house of my God, I have of my own proper good of gold and silver, which I have given to the house of my God, over and above all that I had prepared for the holy house. Even 3,000 talents of gold, of the gold of Ophir, even 7,000 talents of refined silver, to overlay the walls of the houses withal. The gold for things of gold, and the silver for things of silver, and for all manner of work to be made by the hands of artificers.
Artists. Go ahead.
And who then is willing to consecrate his service this day unto the Lord? Then the chief of the fathers and princes of the tribes of Israel, and the captains of thousands and hundreds, with rulers of the king's work, offered willingly, and gave for the service of the house of God of gold 5,000 talents and 10,000 drams, and of silver 10,000 talents, and of brass 18,000 talents, and 100,000 talents of iron.
Jump down to verse 20, verse 20.
Verse 20. And David said to all the congregation, Now bless the Lord your God. And all the congregation blessed the Lord God of their fathers, and bowed down their heads and worshiped the Lord and the king. And they sacrificed sacrifices unto the Lord, and offered burnt offerings unto the Lord. On the morrow after that day, even 1,000 bullocks, 8,000 rams, and 8,000 lambs, with their drink offerings and sacrifices in abundance for all Israel. And did eat and drink before the Lord on that day with the great gladness. And they made Solomon the son of David king the second time, and anointed him unto the Lord to be the chief governor, and Zadok to be priest.
Mm-hmm. They anointed Solomon. They had a ceremony, pretty much him being king. They had a ceremony of him being king all over again a second time to reaffirm that he's the king of Israel, not because David was on his way out the world. And they made Zadok the priest. Go ahead.
Then Solomon sat on the throne of the Lord as king instead of David his father.
Right.
And prospered, and all Israel obeyed him.
Because during this time when David was doing this, Solomon was a co-regent. So then once David was on his way out the world, he was dying. He said, okay, let's now re-anoint and reestablish that King Solomon is the real king. Because remember, it wasn't done properly the first time. Remember, the first time, his brother tried to scheme on him and tried to take over. So he said, okay, now we're going to do it the right way and announce that he's going to be king after I'm gone. Okay, this boy Adonai, I think, tried to start something. Got put to death later on. Now, read on to verse 28.
Verse 24. And all the princes and the mighty men, and all the sons likewise of King David, submitted themselves unto Solomon the king.
Those who served David became Solomon's men. Go ahead.
And the Lord magnified Solomon exceedingly in the sight of all Israel, and bestowed upon him such royal majesty as had not been on any king before him in Israel.
Right, go ahead.
Thus David the son of Jesse reigned over all Israel. And the time that he reigned over Israel was 40 years. 7 years reigned he in Hebron, and 33 years reigned he in Jerusalem. And he died in a good old age, full of days, riches, and honor. And Solomon his son reigned in his stead. Now the acts of David the king, first and last, behold, they are written in the book of Samuel the seer, and in the book of Nathan the prophet, and in the book of Gad the seer.
Right. So now, let's get 1 Kings 5. We're going to read to verse, we're going to read a lot. 1 Kings 5, verse 1. Verse 6 is the main. Yeah, first, here, you know what's up? Oh, man. 1 Kings 5, verse 1, we're going to read to verse 6.
1 Kings chapter 5, verse 1.
Yeah.
And Hiram, king of Tyre, sent his servants unto Solomon, for he had heard that they had anointed him king in the room of his father.
Right, we just read that earlier. We just read that earlier. Go ahead. So Hiram heard that Solomon was king now. Go ahead.
For Hiram was ever a lover of David.
He loved David. Go ahead.
And
He built him a house. Go ahead.
And Solomon sent to Hiram, saying, Thou knowest how that David my father could not build an house unto the name of the Lord his God, for the wars which he were about him on every side, until the Lord put them under the soles of his feet. But now the Lord my God hath given me rest on every side, so that there is neither adversary nor evil occurrent. And behold, I propose to build an house unto the name of the Lord my God, as the Lord spake unto David my father, saying, Thy son whom I will set upon thy throne in thy room, he shall build an house unto my name. Now therefore command thou that they hew me cedar trees out of Lebanon, and my servants shall be with thy servants.
Come on, read verse 6 again.
Now therefore command thou that they hew me cedar trees out of Lebanon, and my servants shall be with thy servants. And unto thee will I give hire for thy servants, according to all that thou shalt appoint.
Right, I have my men hew stones, and I'll hire some of yours as well, because you guys are good at stone cutting. That was their gift. Go ahead.
For thou knowest that there is not among us anything can skill to hew timber like unto the Sidonians.
So the Sidonians are the best stone cutters or hewers of stone. They were the best of the best, second to us. Read on.
And it came to pass, when Hiram heard the words of Solomon, that he rejoiced greatly, and said, Blessed be the Lord this day, which hath given unto David a wise son over this great people. And Hiram sent to Solomon, saying, I have considered the things which thou sentest to me for, and I will do all thy desire concerning timber of cedar, and concerning timber of fir. My servants shall bring them down from Lebanon unto the sea, and I will convey them by sea and floats unto the place that thou shalt appoint.
So I'll bring the wood on floats. I'll sail them to you. I'm going to sail the resources to you. Go ahead.
And will cause them to be discharged there, and thou shalt receive them, and thou shalt accomplish my desire, and give him food for my household. So Hiram gave Solomon cedar trees and fir trees, according to all his desire. And Solomon gave Hiram 20,000 measures of wheat for food to his household.
So he gave him trees, Solomon gave him food, wheat. Go ahead. They were bartering. Go ahead.
And 20 measures of pure oil. Thus gave Solomon to Hiram year by year.
Year by year. Go ahead.
And the Lord gave Solomon wisdom, as he promised him. And there was peace between Hiram and Solomon. And they made a league together. And King Solomon raised a levy out of all Israel.
That's the tax. Go ahead.
And the levy was 30,000 men.
Yep.
And he sent them to Lebanon.
No, levy here is a man. Go ahead.
And he sent
levy is a tribute of men. Go ahead.
And he sent them to Lebanon, 10,000 a month by courses.
10,000 men a month by courses to Lebanon. Go ahead.
A month they were in Lebanon, and 2 months at home.
So the month they were in Lebanon, 2 months at home. This is their job. 2 months at home. 1 month in Lebanon, 2 months at home, collecting resources. Go ahead.
And Adoniram was over the levy.
He was over that sect of men. So keep that name in mind. Adoniram. Go ahead.
And Solomon had 70,000 that bear burdens, and 80,000 hewers in the mountains. Beside the chief of Solomon's officers, which were over the work, 3,300. which ruled over the people that wrought in the work.
So they were over their own men, and they were over Hiram's men that Solomon paid them. Go ahead. Who Solomon paid. Go ahead.
And the king commanded, and they brought great stones.
They brought great stones. Go ahead.
Costly stones.
Expensive stones. Go ahead.
And huge stones to lay the foundation of the house.
Lay the foundation of the temple. Watch this.
And Solomon's builders and Hiram's builders did hew them.
And Solomon's builders and Hiram's builders did build them because they were the best in hewers of stone. Watch this.
And the stone quarriers, so they prepared timber and stones to build the house.
Now my Bible has Giblites, stone squarers. Stone squarers or stone cutters are the Giblites. Read about them earlier. All right? Gebal, children of Gebal. Go ahead. No, that's all one. Let me see. Let's go to the book. Volume 1 is page 163. You know what I'm talking about? Here. You're on. I need that page.
Yeah. All praise to the Most High.
Wow.
How do you guys like class so far? Deacon, what you want me to say?
I don't know. Say something to print my page out. Man.
I have nothing to say concerning this history.
All right. Well, wow.
What do you want me to say, Deacon? Nobody could comment on the topic.
Trying to fill in the blank, trying to fill in the empty space. Well, anyway, this history is going to basically go into, like I said, Solomon's travels. You're going to find that Solomon's travels ties into a lot of history that, how do I put it? Israel's actions from Solomon and upward framed history as we know it. I'll put it that way. Like from his time, ancient times to the dark ages, Solomon's travels shaped history. A lot of his history has been hidden from us, and we're gonna just pretty much bring it out. I'm trying to speak without spoiling it because I have a lot to go over in terms of the episodes. But we're gonna see how far. I'm gonna see how far I can get before I gotta make it a part 2 and 3 and 4 and 5, 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 and 10 and 11 and 12. Like I said, it took me months. And I'm not bringing the books out. Some of y'all are like, what's the name of the books? I'm not telling you because Bishop been bringing the books out. I go to buy the book. It's $2 billion. And it was $20 yesterday. Now it's $2 billion today. No, Bishop, please stop doing that. Please stop sharing the books. You got it? 163. That's all I wanted. Got it? All right, please. All right. So you're going to get page 163 of this book. All right. What I want to start at. I guess you can start where it's underlined. That's fine.
He employed the remnant of the Canaanite population.
He is referring to Solomon. Go ahead.
Still living in the country. Although Saul had begun to decrease their numbers, he could not proceed against them with his full strength on account of his continual strife with David. So
when King Saul's job was to go out and eradicate the heathen of the promised land, he was so focused on killing David, he didn't do it. And he wasn't meant to. Go ahead.
David had left them undisturbed so that they lived quietly.
David left some of them undisturbed without killing them. Go ahead.
Mixed peaceably with the Israelites.
What happened?
Mixed peaceably with the Israelites.
See what happened? What we started doing? Israel started to mingle with them, mix with them. That's why I said earlier that the Sidonians and them, they had a trade route of business for thousands of years before Israel was born. When Israel came into existence and they started building these ports and traveled to North Africa, Israel went along with them. So that woman, Alyssa or Dido, when she went to North Africa and built their city there, Israel was in her fleet. Israel, because she was a queen. Israel was under her. We went with her also. We were there from the beginning of the area. We were there from the beginning of that city being built. Newtown. We were there, as I'll bring out later on. Go ahead.
And served the king faithfully in his wars against the Philistines and other nations.
Go ahead.
Solomon, on the contrary, declared the remnant of the Ammonites, Hittites, Perizzites, and Hivites, as well as the Jebusites, whom David had permitted to live in the outskirts of Jerusalem.
Y'all can live, y'all can live here. You live outside. Go ahead.
To bondmen and compel them.
What did David do with them? David made them what?
To be bondmen.
David made them slaves. Bondmen, like according to the law. Go ahead.
And compel them to perform the hardest labor.
And he put them under the hardest labor. Get to work, boy. That's what we used to do. Go ahead.
They numbered 150,000 youths and able-bodied men and comprised the working class. More than 3,000 Israelites superintendents.
Yeah, we had bosses. Superintendents, go ahead.
Kept the enslaved natives to their work.
Because see, nations are going to have a job. See, the kingdom of heaven was being built, and the nations had jobs. You know, we were like the righteous Trump. Go ahead.
A superior officer,
Adoniram.
Adoniram.
Remember that name? Superior officer named Adoniram, who was over that levy or that tribute of men. Go ahead.
Adoniram watched over the superintendents and the workmen.
So he was over the superintendents. He had a high status, Adoniram. Go ahead.
80,000 of these unhappy beings.
80,000 of these unhappy beings. Go ahead.
Worked in the stone quarries.
We were stone squarers. Worked in the stone quarries, hewing the stone. Go ahead.
Day and night.
Oh, day and night. Go ahead.
By the light of lamps.
See, we had lights, though. We gave them some lights. See? We're nice. Go ahead.
They were under the direction of a man from Byblos, Giblim, who understood the art of hewing heavy blocks from the rocks and of giving the edges the necessary shape of dovetailing.
So what they do was the Israelites and the Canaanites, so Hamites alone, had a skill of cutting rocks in a way where it was a perfect shape. So they fit perfectly together. You'll find out why. Go ahead.
20,000 slaves removed the heavy blocks from the mouth of the quarry and carried them to the building site.
See, so heathens had jobs. See, we didn't kill them off. We weren't that bad. First Kings, and we won't be that bad in the kingdom either. You'll be doing it all over again. First Kings 6:1. See, Israel, you are righteous people. See, we give people jobs. First Kings 6, verse 1, and verse 7 is the main verse I want.
1 Kings chapter 6, verse 1. And it came to pass in the 480th year, after the children of Israel were come out of the land of Egypt, in the 4th year of Solomon's reign over Israel, in the month Zith, which is the 2nd month, that he began to build the house of the Lord. And the house which King Solomon built for the Lord. The length thereof was 60 cubits, and the breadth thereof 20 cubits, and the height thereof 30 cubits. And the porch before the temple of the house, 20 cubits was the length thereof, according to the breadth of the house, and 10 cubits was the breadth thereof before the house. And for the house he made windows of narrow lights. And against the wall of the house he built chambers round about, against the walls of the house round about, both of the temple and of the oracle. And he made chambers round about. The nethermost chamber was 5 cubits broad, and the middle was 6 cubits broad, and the third was 7 cubits broad. For without in the wall of the house he made narrow rests round about, that the beams should not be fastened in the walls of the house.
Right, watch verse 7. Verse 7 is a part that's going to be heavy. Verse 7, real slow.
And the house, when it was in the building,
the temple, when it was being constructed, watch this,
was built of stone made ready. It was
built of stone, the same stone that the heathens and Jakes alike were cutting. Remember that? Cutting and squaring it up and cutting it to the perfect shape, dovetailing. Look at that real quick. Dovetailing. Look at that real quick. Dovetailing. Let's stay in this verse. Hold 7. Dovetailing. We want to bypass these words. Dovetailing. Dovetailing or dovetail. I don't know what that word even means. I think it means cutting rocks in a certain shape, I think. Dovetail means what now?
Joined together by means of a dovetail.
Okay, that doesn't explain anything. All right.
To fit or
There we go.
cause to
Right there.
fit together easily or conveniently.
Fit or cause to fit together easily and conveniently. Splice, link, interlock. Lemon. Now, read verse 7 now. Watch this. So all those stones being, There's more? Oh, there we go. Look right there. See, that's dovetailing. See how it's cut perfectly to fit in there? That's dovetail joint. See that? How that's cut to fit perfectly in there? But the stones are cut like that. See that? Verse 7 now, watch this.
Verse 7. And the house, when it was in building, was built of stone.
Built of what?
Was built of stone.
And filled with gold. Overlaid with gold. Watch this inside. Go ahead.
Made ready before it was brought thither.
Go ahead.
So that there was neither hammer nor axe, nor any tool of iron heard in the house while it was in building.
What does that mean? What does that mean? Don't call out. What does that mean? Who knows what that means? Stand up, Jacob. What does that mean? There were no nails. No nails. All perfectly fit together. All the stones cut perfectly together. Not a single nail was hurt in there. Not a single nail was used. That explains the pyramids. Esau's like, oh, aliens did it. Aliens, because niggas are dumb. Nope. No, bastard. No. We built the pyramids too. Perfectly knit together. Perfectly. Every stone dovetailing. Every stone fit perfectly together. And the pillars didn't touch anything. The pillars was just put there. The gold overlaid everything. It was perfection. God's divine design. God's design. No nails. Not a single one. Perfectly fused together. Every stone, every rock, everything. 1 Kings 7, yes. What's that? That's an example. That's cement right there, right? You show me. Oh, that's dovetailing. Okay, bring it up some. This is dovetailing. This is all an example of dovetailing. See the stones put together? No nails used. All cut perfect up damn puzzle. So when the heathens would cut the stone, they would leave it there, and then we would take the stone and we would put it together. We would cut, took the puzzle piece, and put it together. So the temple was a giant puzzle put together. Amazing. Negroes can't do anything. They're dumb. No. We're a lot wiser than you believe. Were wiser than you believe. Still are, just in wickedness. 1 Kings 7:13.
1 Kings chapter 7, verse 13.
Verse 14 and 14.
And King Solomon sent and fetched Hiram out of Tyre.
And the king of Tyre, go ahead.
He was a widow's son of the tribe of Naphtali. And its father was a man of Tyre.
So his mom was of northern kingdom, and the father was Ham. I'm just showing y'all that Israel did what? He mixed with Ham. We read that in the book earlier. We mingled. All right? So his mom that's why he had a respect for David. Because obviously his mom raised him to have love for her people, her side of the people, of the first side of the family. But he was still a Hamite. Okay? But there was relations with him and David and Solomon. Go ahead.
He was a widow's son of the tribe of Naphtali.
Right, they refer to him as Haramabith, son of the widow. I believe Masons and Illuminati, they worship this guy because he was a master builder. Masons, Luciferians worship builders like Cain and Hiram and all this other nonsense, but Hiram is his name. Go ahead.
And his father was a man of Tyre, a worker in brass.
Because the Sidonians were workers of brass. They were good with building stuff. They were good at dovetailing. Go ahead.
And he was filled with wisdom and understanding and cunning to work all works in brass. And he came to King Solomon and wrought all his work.
Jump to verse 41 to 50 now. 40 to 51, sorry.
And Hiram made the lavers and the shovels and the basins. So Hiram made an end of doing all the work that he made King Solomon for the house of the Lord. The 2 pillars and the 2 bowls of the chapiters that were on the top of the 2 pillars, and the 2 networks, to cover the two bowls of the chapiters which were upon top of the pillars, and 400 pomegranates for the two networks, and 2 rows of pomegranates for one network, to cover the 2 bowls of the chapiters that were upon the pillars, and 10 bases, and 10 lavers of the bases, and on sea, and the 12 oxen under the sea.
Right. And Abiel sent me a thing. It says to cut these hard rocks, the Inca used stone, bronze, or copper tools, usually splitting the stones along natural fracture lines. So the Incas or Inca Empire had the same wisdom to cut stones the exact same way. I wonder why. Probably because, I don't know, they were Israelites. Read on. Yeah, read on. Thank you, Abiel. Thanks. Go ahead. Verse 45. Reading the verse 51. Go ahead.
And the pots and the shovels and the basins and the vessels which Hiram made to King Solomon for the house of the Lord were of the bright brass. And the plain of Jordan did the king cast them, in the clay ground between Succoth and Zarathan. And Solomon left all the vessels unweighed, because they were exceeding many.
Right.
Neither was the weight of the brass found out. And Solomon made all the vessels that pertain unto the house of the Lord, the altar of gold, and the table of gold, whereupon the shewbread was, and the candlesticks of pure gold, 5 on the right side, and 5 on the left, before the oracle, with the flowers and the lamps, and the tongues of gold, and the bowls, and the snuffers, and the basins, and the spoons, and the censers of pure gold, and the hinges of gold.
Everything gold. You keep saying it? Gold, 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 gold. We were a wealthy people. Gold everywhere. That was common. That's like gold for us back then was like plastic. Gold spoons, gold bowls. This is insane. Go ahead.
Both for the doors of the inner house, the most holy place, and for the doors of the house, to wit, of the temple. So was ended all the work that King Solomon made for the house of the Lord. And Solomon brought in the things which David his father had dedicated, even the silver and the gold and the vessels, that he put among the treasures of the house of the Lord.
Right. So now let's get chapter 9, verse 10. Verse 10, yeah.
1 Kings chapter 9, verse 10. And it came to pass at the end of 20 years, when Solomon had built the 2 houses, the houses of the Lord, the house of the Lord.
The temple, go ahead.
The house of the Lord, and the king's house.
And his own house, go ahead.
Now Hiram, the king of Tyre, had furnished Solomon with cedar trees and fir trees, and with gold, according to all his desire. That then King Solomon gave Hiram 20 cities in the land of Galilee.
So King Solomon gave Hiram 20 cities in the land of Galilee. The land of Galilee. Now Galilee, you know, Christ was raised there. That was like the hood. That was like, this place is garbage. Right? So Solomon gave Hiram 20 cities in this area of Galilee. Go ahead.
And Hiram came out from Tyre to see the cities which Solomon had given him.
So Hiram came out to see the cities that Solomon said, I got you, man. You want some cities? I got you 20. Hiram said, I'm gonna come see them cities, man. That looks good. You all excited? Go ahead. Watch this.
And they please him not.
He said, the hell is this? This hood garbage. Go ahead.
And he said, what cities are these which thou hast given me?
The hell is
brother?
this? This is for me? This garbage is for me? He ain't like that. He was mad. Go ahead.
And he called them the land of Cabal.
Cabal, or the bowl is short for something else. Bowl. Cabal. Go ahead.
Unto this day.
Go ahead. And my Bible says it means displeasure. It means displeasing or dirty. That's what Cabal means in my Bible. Who knows? Go ahead.
Unto this day.
So it was called Cabal unto this day. When we came across that word earlier, it said, keep that word in mind, Cabal. So it means it says it's called Cabal unto this day. Unto that time, the author that wrote this, the scribe. Go ahead.
And Hiram sent to the king 60 talents of gold. And this is the reason of the levy which King Solomon raised. For to build the house of the Lord, and his own house, and Milo, and the wall of Jerusalem, and Hazor, and Megiddo, and Gezer. For Pharaoh king of Egypt had gone up and taken Gezer, and burnt it with fire, and slain the Canaanites that dwelt in the city.
Damn, go ahead.
and given it for a present unto Solomon, unto his daughter, Solomon's wife.
Damn. So his father-in-law went, killed Canaanites out of the land and burnt it to the ground. Said, my daughter can have it. Give it to my daughter. Give it to your wife, my daughter. Oh, the father. See, a father's love. The father's love. He went and killed people and gave the land to his daughter. Go ahead. The Solomon's father-in-law. Go ahead.
And Solomon built Gezer, and Beth-horon, the Nether, and Baalath, and Tadmor, and the wilderness in the land, and all the cities of store that Solomon had, and cities for his chariots, and the cities for his horsemen, and that which Solomon desired to build in Jerusalem, and in Lebanon, and in all the land of his dominion.
Watch this.
And all the people that were left of the Amorites, Hittites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites,
That we didn't kill. Go ahead.
which were not of the children of Israel.
Not our people. Go ahead.
Their children that were left after them in the land, whom the children of Israel also were not able utterly to destroy.
But earlier. Go ahead.
Upon those did Solomon levy a tribute of bond service unto this day.
Of bond service. That was their job. He levied them a bond service. You guys want to live? You're going to be slaves since you're alive. Go ahead.
But of the children of Israel did Solomon make no bondmen.
He couldn't. That's against the law to do that. Go ahead.
But they were men of war, and his servants, and his princes, and his captains, and rulers of chariots, and his horsemen.
These men were David's men that were under Solomon. Go ahead.
These were the chief of the officers that were over Solomon's work, 550, which bare rule over the people that wrought in the work. But Pharaoh's daughter came up out of the city of David unto her house which Solomon had built for her. Then did he build Milo.
See? So he went to go see what her husband built for her. Go to verse 26. We're going to read to verse 28.
Deacon, anytime our people ask what's going to happen to other nations in the kingdom,
Yeah, you're reading it.
just tell them read the history
Yeah.
of Solomon.
Read the history of Solomon. That's what's going to happen to you. Verse 26. See, you guys are going to be VIPs. Verse 26.
Verse 26. And King Solomon made a navy of ships in Ezion-Geber.
Remember I told you earlier, so that map, I said, remember that place on the map, Ezion. Go back to that map again, where it showed Ezion-Geber. King Solomon made a navy, not one, a fleet of ships. That's what a navy is. Go back. Ezion-Geber is there? No, that's the wrong map. Go to the other map, Bible Atlas. I think it's on there. Bible Atlas page. I think it's 144, 145. You hold on to that though. I may need that later. No. I'm going to show them where Ezion-Geber is. Yep, this is the one. Blow it up some. That it? No, do the other one. The other one. It's the other page. Not this one, the other one. The page prior to that one. Yep, that's it. I can see it from here, I think. Load up. To the right. The top right. See? Blow it up. Move the map down so you can see it. Move the map down. Yeah, go up. See? Right there. Ezion-Geber, see? And then that path, the Ezion-Geber, that leads right into the Persian Gulf. Ezion-Geber leads into the Indian Ocean. All right? Ezion-Geber. Bring it down some. I can see where it leads into. Yeah, it cuts it off. Ezion-Geber. So that's the navy. That's the Solomon's navy fleet would tend to sail out from. All right. Other places also, but they would tend to sail out from here as well. Read on. Read it again. 26.
And King Solomon made a navy of ships in Ezion-Geber, which is beside Elath, on the shore of the Red Sea.
On the shore of the Red Sea. As it goes into the Red Sea, Mount Sinai right there. Sinai right there. The Red Sea. Go ahead.
In the land of Edom.
The land of where?
In the land of Edom.
Land of Edom. Ezion-Geber right there. Go ahead.
And Hiram sent in the navy his servants, shipmen that had knowledge of the sea, with the servants of Solomon.
So when something from Ezion-Geber, which will go to take you to the Indian Ocean, Hiram's men would sail with Solomon's fleet into this part of the Indian Ocean. Because you sail right, you end up in the Red Sea, the Persian Gulf, and you're in the Pacific Ocean at this point, going towards your right. And you have all kinds of different lands in the Pacific Ocean, like India. What else, Cap? Malaysia, Seychelles, Madagascar,
India.
Solomon sailed these seas, and he would gather the tin, the copper, and all that stuff, and get resources from these places. He would sail the Indian Ocean, and he sailed another one also. Read on.
Verse 27. And Hiram sent in the navy his servants, shipmen that had knowledge of the sea.
Remember, earlier they had knowledge of the sea. Remember, the Sidonians had a trade route thousands of years, so they knew the seas because they sailed them for years prior to Israel's existence. Go ahead.
With the servants of Solomon. And they came to Ophir and fetched from thence gold.
So from what I'm hearing, Ophir is somewhere in India.
They say it's in India.
They say it's in India, Ophir. All right, go ahead.
420 talents and brought it to King Solomon.
Brought to King Solomon. So now, chapter 10, verse 11 to 12. To 13. Chapter 10, verse 11 to 13.
1 Kings chapter 10, verse 11. And the navy also of Hiram that brought gold from Ophir brought in from Ophir great plenty of almug trees and precious stones.
So both Solomon's fleet and Hiram's fleet would sail from Eziongeber and to take the same routes, sail together. Go ahead.
And the king made of the almug trees pillars for the house of the Lord, and for the king's house, harps also and psalteries for singers. There came no such almug tree, nor were seen unto this day.
Go ahead.
And King Solomon gave unto the queen of Sheba all her desire, whatsoever she asked, beside that which Solomon gave her of his royal bounty. So she turned and went to her own country.
That's all I want. Joshua 19. Verse 24. I'm going to read the verse. We're going to skip. Joshua 19, verse 21.
Joshua chapter 19, verse 21.
Let me get there. All right, go ahead.
And Rameth, and Aganim, and Anhada, and Bath Pazez, and the coast of reacheth to Tabor. And the coast reacheth to Tabor.
You're going to be 21, 22, and jump to 20, then jump to 24 and 27.
And the coast reaches to Tabor, and Shahazamah, and Beth Shemesh, and the outgoings for their border were at Jordan. 16 cities with their villages.
24, yeah.
And the fifth lot came out for the tribe of the children of Asher.
It's allotment of land. Go ahead.
According to their families.
27.
And turneth toward the sun rising to Beth Dagon, and reacheth to Zebulun.
Zebulun, go ahead.
And to the valley of Jith-Dael, toward the north side of Bethmek and Nael.
Go ahead.
Goeth out to Cabal, to the left hand.
See, and goeth out to Cabal on the left hand. So that was Asher. Cabal was Asher's portion of land. Cabal. Go to the map now, Bible Atlas. So Asher is right there. See the land of Cabal? Land of Cabal right there. So in that area right there, you had Northern Kingdom and heathens living there together, living alike. That's Galilee of the Gentiles. That's the same place. Galilee of the Gentiles. That's the same exact area. So you had Northern Kingdom living there and heathens living there together. Okay? And then eventually, of course, Israel started intermingling and mixed with the nations. So Judah, who did not do that, occurred to everyone in that land, including Northern Kingdom, Galilee of the Gentiles. They're all y'all Gentiles, including Ephraim as well. Or Zebulun and Naphtali and so forth. Okay? See that? Land of Cabal. That's the land that Solomon had gave Hiram in their business dealings. To seal business relations. To seal up business relations. I'll get the next book again, page 170, history. Page 170. Page 170. Yeah, right there. Solomon's greatest gains. Read from there.
Solomon's greatest gains, however, were acquired in the trade with India.
With where?
With India.
That's the alleged Ophir. Most scholars agree that Ophir was India or near India or India along the ocean, India. Go ahead.
To the Phoenicians, the journey to this distant country was attended with unsurpassable difficulties, so long as the country near the Red Sea was rendered unsafe by the uncivilized and predatory bands that dwelt there. By his alliance with Hiram, Solomon had opened up a safer and nearer route to India.
So Solomon figured out, being wise he was, safer routes within that same route that they would take that was dangerous. Solomon found easier routes that was safer. Go ahead, because he was Solomon. Go ahead.
The strip of land extending from the southern border of Judah to the eastern coast of the Red Sea, the points Elath and Ezion-Geber, had been rendered accessible. Solomon
opened up that route. Go ahead.
The caravans with their loaded camels could proceed in safety from Jerusalem and from the coast to the northern point of the Red Sea. At Hiram's suggestion, Solomon had a fleet of strong and large ships. Ships of Tarshish.
Ships of what?
Ships of Tarshish.
Ships of Tarshish. Now, some scholars say, most scholars agree that Tarshish is Sicily. Some say it's southern Spain. Either or, it's an area within the Mediterranean Sea. Solomon had a fleet in the Mediterranean Sea also, aside from Ezion-Geber. Go ahead.
Built and equipped on the coast at Ezion-Geber.
Right.
Hiram sent his most skillful sailors, who knew the route thoroughly, to man the vessels.
Watch this. So Hiram sent his most skillful sailors, who knew the route thoroughly, go ahead, to man the vessels. Go ahead.
Israelites of the tribes of Asher and Zebulun, who lived on the coast and were acquainted with the sea, were also employed.
Were hired. See? So we would sail. So Asher and Zebulun were the seafaring tribes. Issachar was too, but those two were the main ones. Asher and Zebulun, who lived on the coast and were acquainted with the sea, were also employed to do these travels. And when they did these travels with Hiram's men, they would occasionally stay. We read that earlier in the other book, Caesar and Christ's book, where they stayed in those ports. They stayed in these areas. Okay? Like Madagascar and other places of the Indian Ocean. Let's get the next book. It's page 118. Wisdom is called. I'm not gonna say what the title of the book is. Something wisdom. Can't get over. This was this is written. Bring it up. That's the whole thing.
No.
This is the stone called the Pariba stone. Isn't it a lot more than this? Okay, that's how it is. Okay, this is a stone that was discovered, I believe, in South America called the Pariba stone, and this is an inscription was written on the stone. All right, and a guy by the name of Gordon, on the top right here, he deciphered it, but he found a deeper meaning to what was written on the stone. But read that.
We are sons of Canaan from Sidon.
Right, so it said we are sons of Canaan from Sidon. After the first scholars that came across it thought that's what it initially said, but it said more than this. Go ahead.
Begins the manuscript. It is written in a Phoenician language used some 500 years before the birth of Christ. And only
that's around the Persian captivity, I believe. Persian, go ahead.
And only 8 lines. It tells a story of a voyage around Africa, of storm, human sacrifice, and salvation on the shores of what is now Brazil.
What is now Brazil? Go ahead.
If it was indeed left by a Phoenician sailor, the text memorializes an ancient visit to the New World long suspected by some scholars.
So some scholars have suspected before this man came along that there was a sailor that came from that area and came to the New World, from Phoenicia. Now, Phoenicia is the land of Canaan. Go ahead.
If not, the Pariba inscription, as it is called, is among history's more intriguing hoaxes. In 1872, Lisdalo Neto, the director of Brazil's National Museum of Rio de Janeiro, received from a colleague a copy of a letter. Its author, who was never found, described a stone tablet unearthed by workers on a plantation at Pariba.
On a plantation. So slaves discovered the stone. Go ahead.
Now called Joa Pessoa, at Brazil's easternmost tip. Neto, putting aside his initial doubts about the inscription, published the text in 1874 after unsuccessfully seeking the original tablet and the letter writer. The inscription was promptly branded a fraud by experts in Phoenician languages.
So it was considered a fraud. You know, they try to do damage control. Oh, it's a fraud. It's fake.
And a long simmering public debate ensued. Finally, Neto himself, after 10 years of professional and personal agony, recanted his belief in the text's
He
authenticity.
got forced to denounce it. Go ahead.
Until the late 1960s, the case seemed settled and was virtually forgotten. Then Cyrus Jordan,
This guy comes, Gordon comes along. He decides to research it again. Go ahead.
an American scholar of Semitic languages.
What languages?
Semitic languages.
What languages?
Semitic languages.
Semitic languages. Go ahead.
Studied the text and declared its
He
authenticity.
said, this is real. This is not fake. Go ahead.
Ironically, for some of the same reasons that it was
A judge.
adjudged fraudulent nearly a century before.
Maybe 100 years before. Go ahead.
So-called inaccuracies of vocabulary and grammar cited by critics in 1874 had become, by 1968, more idiosyncrasies of dialect.
Idiosyncrasies of dialect.
Idiosyncrasies of dialect. Some similarities between the inscription and ancient Hebrew, once considered evidence of deceit, has since been documented as normal among Phoenicians, a people who mix readily with a number of other cultures.
Ancient Hebrew is found on the stone.
Moreover, Gordon analysis seemed to reveal no fewer than 3 cryptograms buried in the till.
What?
Cryptograms buried in the till.
So Gordon found these are 3 cryptograms founded in the writing. So meaning there's something secretive messages within the writing. We read it earlier. We are sons of Canaan. There was more written to it than just that. More to it than that. You understand? But there was more to it than just what we read. Some of you are sons of Canaan, blah, blah, blah. He's saying, no, there's more to this than just what that says. All right? So it says he found the cryptograms. Go ahead.
One typical of ancient scripts includes numbers that, when added, confirm the date given by the writer. The other codes, according to Gordon, tell the story once again from the point of view of both a Canaanite pagan and a Jewish crewman.
So it's between those two. Either a Canaanite pagan, which would be son of Sidon, or a Jewish crewman. It's one or the other, he's saying. Go ahead.
The cryptograms, he claimed, were evidence of authenticity, since few counterfeiters were likely to have taken such pains with their work.
Go ahead.
To be sure, Gordon's detailed interpretation has not settled the controversy over the Pariba inscription, and the debate is likely to continue until, if ever, the original stone inscription can be found and judged.
Right. So now, let's get the riddles book, page 22. We'll get some more information on this stone here regarding the cryptograms or the messages hidden within that statement. That's why I say he was he studied Semitic languages, and that is between either a pagan sailor or a Jewish crewman that wrote on that stone. All right, read that. September 11th. The same, remember the year, 1872. They found that stone on a plantation. Go ahead.
On September 11th, 1872, someone mailed the following letter to Viscount Sapucci. Wait, what is that?
I don't know, man. It's some heathen name. Sap. Let's call him Sap. Viscount Sap.
Sap.
Can't pronounce that.
Viscount Sap.
Yeah.
President of the Instituto Historico in Rio de Janeiro.
Brazil. Go ahead.
Mr. Viscount, as I was having stones moved on my property, a Pasua Alto near the Pariba, my slaves brought me one which they had already broken into 4 pieces.
See, plantation. They brought him a stone that was broken into 4 pieces that they dug up. His slaves. Go ahead.
That stone bore numerous characters which no one understood. I had them copied by my son, who knows a bit of draughtsmanship. and I decided to send his copy to Your Excellency as president of the Historic Geographic Institute of Brazil.
So the stone itself was never recovered. Only a copy of what was written on the stone that was broken in 4 pieces was given to these scholars, and it was shared amongst them, and they were arguing about whether it's authentic or not. That's what the guy said earlier in the last book. Until the actual stone is provided, they won't know for certain what it says. But Esau has the stone, and they're not going to give it up because they know what's on it. They know it's authentic. They know what it means, what it alludes to. So like, now we're going to keep this thing hidden. Go ahead.
To see whether Your Excellency or someone else can find out.
Just like that brother in Puerto Rico that had those, that found them little stones. And they said, oh, we're still trying to make it authentic. We're not sure. Same thing. Same old trick that Esau does. Go ahead.
What these letters mean. Since I have come to the capital and have not the time to deliver them personally to Your Excellency, I am mailing them to him. I am with complete consideration and respect.
Now, so jump down to Brazil.
Brazil in 1872 was on the fringes of European culture with very limited intellectual resources and esoterica like ancient scripts.
Right.
The Emperor Dom Pedro II, 1825-1891, had an amateur's love for Near Eastern studies.
For Near Eastern studies. Go ahead.
Especially
That's Israel. Near Eastern studies. Go ahead.
Especially Hebrew and Arabic.
There you go. Go ahead.
But what he knew fell far short of professional expertise. Outside of the emperor, no one in Brazil had even a reputation of adequate knowledge in such matters. So the Viscount entrusted the study and publication of the text to a bright and well-traveled naturalist.
Naturalist means a Satanist. Naturalist means they don't believe in God. They're more like secular, non-biblical. But he sent it to him, well-traveled naturalist. Go ahead, name who?
Dr. Ladislau Neto.
Neto. Remember that name in the last book? Neto. It says added an extra T. Neto. Same person. Go ahead.
Director of the Musea Nacional in Rio.
Right in Brazil. Go ahead.
Neto identified the script as Phoenician. And plunged into the study of Hebrew and of what little was then known of Phoenician with the intensity of a spirited pioneer.
Now, we know earlier in the last book, the Phoenicians and Israelites were the same people. So this book was written in ancient Hebrew, written by Israelites, not sons of Canaan, Sidon. It's not, they didn't really say that. That's what they interpreted initially. But then Gordon got a hold of it and said, no, it says something more than that. Go ahead.
Neto soon surmised the significance of the text. It recorded an ancient sailing from the Red Sea port of Ezion-Geber
to where?
To Brazil.
That's where Solomon's fleet left from. So Solomon's fleet left from. Go ahead.
As a naturalist, he showed how the winds and currents facilitate crossings from the bulge of Africa to the bulge of Brazil.
Because the winds flow west from Africa. West coast of Africa, the winds flow that way. And remember very earlier that from West Africa to Brazil is the same width as the Mediterranean Sea. They're right there. And the winds blow in perfect direction toward the west. So if for example, if you are on a storm in Africa in the Atlantic Ocean, you would end up drifting right into America, right there. So so according to them, they're saying that this fleet sailed from Ezion-Geber to Brazil. That's what they said earlier. It was either a Sidonian pagan as in Hiram's men or a Jewish sailman as in Solomon's men. That's what they're saying indirectly. Trying to be slick. But we catch on. Go ahead.
But it is one thing. But it is one thing to be intelligent and perceptive, and quite another to master the ins and outs of an atypical Canaanite inscription. Matters were not helped by the fact that neither Joaquim Alves de Costa nor the plantation at Poça Alto has been located. There are many Poça Altos in Brazil, and in 1872 there were still more. Also, there are 2 widely separated Paribas, the province of Pariba up north near the Bulge, and a region of the Pariba River down south around the latitudes of Rio and Sao Paulo.
St. Paul, go ahead.
Quite possibly, Joaquim Alves de Costa is a pseudonym.
False name, go ahead.
Perhaps the finder wanted a free and publicized professional evaluation of the text to enhance its price. But there is another possibility. In 1873, Neto published his view that the Pariba inscription might well be authentic and bear witness to a transatlantic crossing in the 16th century BC.
6th century BC.
Sorry, 6th century BC.
600s BC. That's around the time of Babylon. Go ahead. Persia. Yeah, that's Persia. Persia. Yeah, go ahead.
The editor of the newspaper, Journal de Comercio, felt obliged to cast doubt on the text.
They came to cast doubt in the text. Try to, again, he's still trying to hide things as usual. Go ahead.
Nevertheless, the sensational article by Nettle was picked up by the press all over the world, so that it could not be disregarded by the experts.
Right. It cannot be dismissed. Go ahead. It caught too much attention. Go ahead.
The famed head of the international establishment in such matters was Ernest Renan, 1823 to 92, of Paris, with whom the emperor and Nettle corresponded. Nettle did not entrust the whole text to Renan, but sent him only excerpts to that the French savant could help, but not scoop him.
Right. Let's get the article out first. He gave him bits and pieces of the inscription. So he wouldn't bring it out first. Go ahead.
Renan replied that while no one can really pass judgment on inscription he has not personally examined, he was nonetheless confident it was a forgery. It takes a great man to get away with such inconsistency. It is interesting to note that the Renan based some of his arguments on his misreadings of the text. As an intellectually insecure amateur in Brazil, the emperor accepted Renan's verdict. Without Dom Pedro's support, Nettle was doomed to ignominious failure even on his home front. Ignominious failure even on his home front. But he lacked the knowledge to stand up to Renan in Canaanite linguistics and epigraphy.
He didn't know anything. So the guy that denounced the inscription being authentic didn't know anything to begin with. He was an idiot. And that's when Gordon came along and revealed that it was either a Sidonian pagan or a Jewish Canaanite. I'll get back to that later. Let's go to the next book. We'll come back to that. Matter of fact, I left something out, Matter of fact, left something out. Go to the next book for now. Let me see. I think I left something out. Page. Yeah, this is an important page. Yeah, I need this too. Yeah. 2172. Same book. Left that out. I even noticed that. Yeah, 72? Get 72. Get 71 also. 71 also and 72. Get 71? I'll read that in the meantime. All you do is 72. Page 71. Same book. Here we go. The Pariba inscription. Blow it up. The Pariba inscription. That's the same thing we read about in the last book. It was on page 118. Blow this up. Read that. You can start from it celebrates. That's fine.
Go
ahead. That's fine.
It celebrates a voyage of Sidonian subjects who embarked at Ezion-Geber in the 19th year of King Hiram and sailed around the Cape of Good Hope to Brazil.
Read it again. The Pariba stone does what now? It celebrates what?
It celebrates a voyage of Sidonian subjects.
It celebrates a voyage of Sidonian subjects who what?
Who embarked at Ezion-Geber in the 19th year of King Hiram and sailed around the Cape of Good Hope.
The Cape of Good Hope is the bottom part of West Africa. That's the bottom part of West Africa. So you sail around. Give me a map real quick of a globe of Africa in the Near East, please. I need I'm not sure that's detailed enough. I apologize, but I need something like that. All right, so blow it up some. Now remember, Ezion-Geber empties into the Red Sea, right? You see Red Sea there? So Ezion-Geber would be right where Israel, where so-called all Israel is, which is not. It's more than that. So you have that, and you have the Red Sea. So Ezion-Geber is right there on top. Red Sea. You sail around the Horn of Africa, right? See Somalia? So Solomon's fleet, they say, sailed around there, go down. Go down, down, down. They went past Madagascar. Go down. They want go down some more. They went to the left. And see Cape Good right there. Cape Good Hope. See? Then when they move, they went all the way over to the west. Where they end up? Brazil. That's what they're saying. So that's what we sailed to. We sailed both oceans. Solomon's fleet and Hiram's fleet sailed both oceans. Indian right into the Atlantic Ocean. We had knowledge of the seas. Now, go to that page I want. Page 71 and then 72.
Deacon, we think...
That killed enough time? That killed enough time for that page? I got 72? Yeah. All right, there you go. All praise. Let me get that book back. Try to keep my book. Get my book. Yeah, get my book, please. Thank you, Cap. Thank you, Captain. I appreciate you. Yeah.
The Pariba text, like most ancient inscriptions, has difficulties that are being elucidated.
That means cleared up. Being cleared up through, go ahead.
Through continued study in the light of new related material.
Watch this.
Some obscurities still remain.
Right, they're still trying to figure it out, but they did. Go ahead.
However, the general significance of the text has been clear from the start.
What's clear? Go ahead.
It celebrates a voyage of Sidonian subjects who embarked at Ezion-Geber in the 19th century of King Hiram. 19th year of King Hiram, and sailed around the Cape of Good Hope to Brazil, where the inscription turned up in 1872.
Go ahead, go down. Right here. The language belongs to?
The language belongs to the Canaanite group of very closely related dialects that include Phoenician and Hebrew.
Between those two, go ahead, which is the same thing, but go ahead.
If we engage in finesse, we can subdivide Phoenician into many subdialects.
Here come the semantics, go ahead.
Tyro-Sidonian,
okay,
or South Phoenician.
Central Phoenicians, Biblian, go ahead.
Biblian, Central Phoenician, Arwadian, North Phoenician, Cypriot, Punic, West Phoenician.
That's Hebrew again. Go ahead.
By the same token, there are many varieties of Hebrew.
Where?
There are many varieties of Hebrew. Even in the Bible itself.
Watch this.
Let alone in the diverse inscriptions from Judah and the south, and from Israel and the north of Palestine.
That's the language it's written in. And the Hebrew particularly found in the south where Judah was, or Judah was, or north where Israel was. All forms of Hebrew and Phoenician were, go down, were mutually intelligible. And dialect mixture in the border areas was normal because we mingled around with them. So the languages intermingled. Go to the next page. Watch this part we want. I put the line next to it. So with all that stuff, Cypriot, West Phoenician, whatever, West Philadelphia, whatever, all that nonsense talk. Read right there, Professor A. Von.
Professor A. Von de Brandon has offered...
Professor A. Von den Branden, go ahead.
Has offered another explanation that has much in its favor.
That has much in its favor above all else. Go ahead.
The strong Hebrew component, tinged with Phoenicianism, suggests to him that the dialect of the scribe and probably the crew stemmed from the southern border of the Sidonian realm.
Watch this.
Where the population had close affinities with the Hebrews.
Watch this.
This is confirmed by the message in the telistic, which indicates...
Telistic.
Sorry, I can't see. Telistic, which indicates that the scribe and perhaps also some of the crew... Some of the crew worship the God of Israel.
That's how you know it's Israel. So, because I said cryptogram means there was secret writing, secret codes within the writing itself. That let you know that the person that wrote that on that stone were Jews, the Jewish sailor. That's what he's saying. Go ahead.
The script of the Pariba inscription fits a date of about 500 BC, better than an earlier or later period.
That's the time it was written. So the writer of that stone was a Jew, period. An Israelite. That's what it was. Not a Sidonian. It was an Israelite. That's what it's saying. All right? Based upon it, says it's held in high favor. That's why I was saying, it's unauthentic, because they know who wrote in that stone and where they sailed from. Ezion-Geber, over around the tip of Africa to Brazil. Solomon's boys. That's what it's talking about. Go to the next book, Casket, page 113. Let's clear it up more. Page 113, we're going to be to page 115. Like I said before, I say all the time, one of the worst things Esau could have ever allowed us to do was learn how to read. Worst thing ever. We're better off just killing us. Horrible. I don't know what's worse, nuclear bombs or us. I think we are worse.
All right, go down. Where you want me to start it from? Start from
the top. End that remarks.
Right. Blow it up some more. Antiquities of America. Blow it up.
Don't need all of that, man. It's the top paragraph there. Move all that over.
Thank you.
Right there. Yes.
A friend has furnished us with the sheets of a work on the antiquities of America.
On the antiquities or the people of America. Go ahead. Antiquities. Go ahead.
Which we learn will be published in a few weeks. We have perused them with much interest. The author
we have perused them.
We have perused them with much interest.
Yeah.
The author appears to have devoted much time and attention to the subject, and he invariably adduces strong arguments in support of his suppositions, some of which are, however, remarkable for their originality. His first chapter is devoted to the examination of the situation of the world before the flood, upon which subject he remarks.
So this guy's author, they found such interest in his research, they put it inside this magazine. A magazine, right, Jazz? Like a magazine?
Yes, sir. So it's like an excerpt in the magazine.
Right, it's an excerpt in the magazine because Esau oftentimes to put scholarly historical stuff in magazines and like journal magazines and so forth. They'll put them out different years and months. So we're gonna jump down to it says the Phoenicians.
The blue highlight. The blue highlight.
Yeah, start from there. Right there. Go up. Right there.
All right. So the Phoenicians, or Canaanites, as they are called in Scripture, a people who inhabited the eastern coast of the Mediterranean Sea, far excelled all other primitive ages in commerce and navigation.
They were the Walmart of ancient time, the commerce, business, and navigation, where they sailed the seas. Go ahead.
In the days...
Now, remember, as I said before, Phoenicians and Canaanites are two separate people, but some scholars will put them together. They're not the same. Phoenicians were us who took over the land of Canaan, and the Greeks and Romans refer to us as Phoenicians. The Canaanites are Sidonians. You understand? Phoenicians is us living in the land that we took from them. Canaanites are Sidonians. Their city is Sidon or Tyre, or Old Tyre, New Tyre. That's them. Or Tyrians. That's them. Y'all follow? Sir. Okay, read again.
The Phoenicians are Canaanites.
So because we share the same landmass, so some scholars lump them all together as one, but they're not. Go ahead.
As they are called in Scripture, are a people who inhabited the eastern coast of the Mediterranean Sea.
Right.
Far excel all other primitive ages in commerce and navigation. In the days of Abraham, nearly 4,000 years ago, they were a commercial people holding communication with the Persians.
It's true. It's before we got around. Yeah, it's true. Go ahead.
And most of the neighboring nations. The Phoenicians were the inventors of writing and the first who made any considerable attempts in navigation.
We did that. That's us. Phoenicians there is Jake, not the Canaanites. Go ahead.
About 3,000 years ago, they began to colonize. They settled Rhodes and Cyprus. From thence, they went into Greece, to Sicily, Sardinia, and into Spain.
That's Canaan also. We also fall behind them. Go ahead later on. Go ahead.
About the same time, they passed the Straits of Gibraltar, and made settlements on the western coast of Africa. The Canary and Madeira.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hey, I want y'all to remember Gibraltar. That name alone is something important. Gibraltar. You better write that down. Gibraltar will play a huge role later on in the series as we go on. Gibraltar. Go ahead.
About the same time, they passed the Straits of Gibraltar and made settlements on the western coast of Africa.
They made settlements where?
On the western coast of Africa.
Israel far behind them later on. We came into existence. Go ahead.
The Canary and Madeira Isles were discovered.
The Canary and Madeira Isles are islands that are right off the coast of Africa. And I think Madeira Isles are considered part of Portugal. They're right off the coast. Go ahead. Canary is considered part of West Africa, I believe. Canary Islands. Go ahead.
And settled soon after by the colonies which the Phoenicians planted in Spain. Their skill in navigation at this period must have been brought to a considerable degree of perfection, that without the aid of the compass, they could direct their course from one end of the Mediterranean Sea to the other.
They didn't need a compass or a radar. They knew exactly where they were going. Go ahead.
For rising of...
This is a dark nation, by the way, that Esau doesn't give credit to. Go ahead.
For rising of 400 years were these active and enterprising people, improving their kingdom, a kingdom at home, establishing colonies and improving nations abroad, and bartering and selling their commodities to all the nations of the then known world.
Hey, see, that's Amazon. Amazon, Walmart, same thing. Businessmen. Go ahead. Business nation.
In the days of Solomon,
Israel gets good. In the days of Solomon, we're reading that all day. Go ahead.
nearly 3,000 years ago, the Phoenicians, or Tyrians, as they were then called, were the only seamen of the age capable of conducting the fleets of Solomon to the various nations with which that great king held communication.
Right, with Hiram. Go ahead.
Extensive must have been the voyages which the enterprising Tyrians made for Solomon,
Hiram's men. Go ahead.
accompanied by the Jews.
Here you go.
They were 3 years in performing the voyages which they were commanded to make.
Go ahead. Watch this. He's going to quote a scripture now. Go ahead.
For the king had at sea a navy of Tarshish.
Hold on. Let's get 1 Kings 10:14. Hold that thought. 1 Kings 10:14.
1 Kings chapter 10, verse 14. Now the weight of gold that came to Solomon in 1 year was 606 talents of gold. Besides that, he had of the merchantmen, and of the traffic of the spice merchants, and of the kings of Arabia, and of the governors of the country.
Go ahead.
And King Solomon made 200 targets of beaten gold. 600 shekels of gold went to one target.
Read 15 again. 15 one more time. Sorry.
Besides that, he had of the merchantmen, and of the traffic of the spice merchants.
Solomon had access to different people to bring different things. Spices. We had our own stores, our own businesses. So Solomon would have them ship these things over. Remember, he had his own merchantmen. We had our own businessmen that would sail and bring these things from the lands this fleet went to. We had our own merchantmen. Go ahead.
And of the traffic of the spice merchants.
We had our own traffic. We dealt in imports and exports with Solomon. Go ahead.
And of all the kings of Arabia, and of the governors of the country.
Go ahead.
And King Solomon made 200 targets of beaten gold. 600 shekels of gold went to one target. And he made 300 shields of beaten gold. 3 pounds of gold went to one shield. And the king put them in the house of the forest of Lebanon. Moreover, the king made a great throne of ivory and overlaid it with the best gold. The throne had 6 steps, and the top of the throne was round behind. And there were stays on either side on the place of the seat, and 2 lions stood beside the stays, and 12 lions stood thereon, the one side and on the other upon the 6 steps. There was not the like made in any kingdom.
So Solomon's throne was the only throne like itself in his kingdom. Most beautiful throne ever. Go ahead.
And all King Solomon's drinking vessels were of gold.
All his cups was gold. We drink out of only gold. Go ahead.
And all the vessels of the house of the forest of Lebanon were of pure gold. None were of silver.
Nothing was silver. Go ahead.
It was nothing accounted of in the days of Solomon.
Gold was nothing accounted of in the days of Solomon. It's gold. It's just gold. Shit. Let me go back in the time machine and get that. Gold. Yeah. Ephraim played with diamonds like marbles in the side of the world. Go ahead.
For the king had at sea a navy of Tarshish.
There you go. For the king had at sea a navy of what?
Tarshish.
Tarshish is either, most scholars agree that Tarshish is Sicily. Some say it's part of Spain. Well, some say Spain, most say Sicily. But either or, it's a land in the Mediterranean Sea. The Mediterranean Sea connects to what ocean? The Atlantic Ocean. Okay, go ahead.
For the king had at sea a navy of Tarshish with the navy of Hiram. Once in 3 years came the navy of Tarshish, bringing gold and silver, ivory and apes and peacocks.
So his fleet would travel. They'd be gone for 3 years, and they would come back with gold, silver, ivory, apes, and peacocks. So they would sell out. They'd be gone for 3 years. Some of Solomon had merchantmen. They came back with these things to sell. Y'all understand? 3 years. They were away for 3 years. Now, go back to the book now.
So, Deacon, with King Solomon, we understand through
most of these animals written here, these things written here,
can't find
it's
them in Israel.
It's from Africa.
Yeah. And India.
That's where he went. India, too. That's where he went.
Like
go ahead.
peacock?
At the peacock, right.
And you wonder how Solomon knew the navigation, how to get to across to the Atlantic Ocean.
I'm gonna get to
Okay.
I'm gonna get to all that.
Yeah, you see,
I'm gonna get to that. Don't spell nothing. Nothing. Go back to the book.
For the king.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Cat. I'm sorry, man. You don't spoil it. Yeah, not this time. Right there. For the king.
For the king had at sea a navy of Tarshish with
We read
the
that earlier. We just read this. Go ahead.
with the navy of Hiram. Once in 3 years came the navy of Tarshish, bringing gold, silver, and ivory, etc. To what regions of the earth this fleet sailed is left in a degree to conjecture.
Of guesswork. Go ahead.
But from the articles they brought back, and from the length of the voyage we are to judge.
Watch this.
Besides gold, silver, and ivory, they brought apes and peacocks.
Go ahead.
These animals, more especially the latter, are found in greater abundance in Africa
Go ahead.
than in any other part of the world. And indeed, that seems to have been the place of their nativity. Gold, silver, and ivory abound likewise in Africa.
Go ahead.
And in the more southern parts of that quarter of the globe. Numerous species of the ape kind are found.
Apes. Go ahead.
Hence, we are to conclude that the fleet of Tarshish passed the Straits of Gibraltar and then directed their course to the south.
Stop. Go to that map again. The Mediterranean Sea map. I'll give y'all an illustration. So, the Mediterranean Sea. So, if Tarshish is Sicily, point there. If Tarshish is Sicily, which is right there, if that's where his fleets went, they sailed all the way over. You see Africa on the bottom? They sailed all the way to the left, ended up in the Atlantic Ocean, and went down and sailed downward. Y'all understand? And past the Straits of Gibraltar is right there. Gibraltar will be Tangier, that area in the middle. That little spot in the middle, that's Gibraltar right there. That connects Africa to Europe. Or Iberia is Spain. The word Iberia is also very important. Keep that in mind later on. And you go over, down to the left. That's Atlantic Ocean, west coast of Africa. You end up west coast, you end up in Mauritania, you end up in Morocco, end up over there. And you go down. Now go back to the book. Let's go.
Hence, we are to conclude that the fleet of Tarshish passed the Straits of Gibraltar and then directed their course to the south.
Watch this.
Along the western coast of Africa.
Go ahead.
To near the Cape of Good Hope.
Here we go again. Remember Pariba Stone? The voyage where they passed, it went around, the fleet went around this younger Burr, past Cape Good Hope, and over to the left where Brazil is. So we had knowledge of this place. We had knowledge of the Atlantic Ocean. We had knowledge of the Pacific Ocean or Indian Ocean. Go ahead.
Hope, for only towards the south part of Africa were apes to be found.
The port where Solomon bought apes from. Go ahead.
While along the Guinea shores, all of the other articles were in great abundance.
So Solomon went to Guinea too. His merchantmen went there too. Go down, is there more? That's highlighted in blue.
Yes,
right
sir.
there. Come on.
Hence the fleets of Solomon traversed.
Hence the what?
Hence the fleets of Solomon.
Hence the fleet, not Hiram's, but the fleets of Solomon. Go ahead.
Traversed 2 oceans.
We traversed 2 oceans. Go ahead.
One to the east.
That'll be the Atlantic.
And the other to the west.
Indian. Go ahead. Or Pacific. Go ahead.
Of Africa. And on board of their fleets were both Jews and Tyrians.
This is true. Go ahead.
Ancient writers speak of a large and delightful island or land, which the Phoenicians discovered in the Atlantic Ocean, west of Spain.
West of Spain. West of Spain.
Having no compass, and when perhaps no sun, moon, nor stars appeared for many days, the mariners may have become bewildered, lost their course, and instead of reaching the desired haven.
This is referring to Solomon's fleet. So they're making an assumption regarding Solomon's men. Not Hiram's men, but Solomon's men. Go up some real quick. Real quick. Right, hence the fleets of Solomon. Now go down. That's the topic. Go ahead, watch this.
Okay, storms and tempests might have separated the fleet.
So this is the conjecture. They're assuming that maybe their Solomon's fleet may have gotten lost at sea and ended up over here by accident because of the storms. Right? Watch this.
Wait, D. Hold up. Go up some more. Go up some more. Okay, right.
Oh, now it is easy, right?
The American. I see American.
No, now it is easy. It is not just supposed to when Solomon's fleet, right there.
Put your cursor. Where your cursor?
It says it. Up, up, up. Now it is easy.
Now it is easy. It is a natural to suppose that when Solomon's fleet
Right there. When Solomon's fleet, go ahead,
was in the Atlantic Ocean,
was in the Atlantic Ocean, Solomon's fleet. Now Solomon's fleet, remember, Solomon had Hiram's men sail with him, but they sailed with him in the Indian Ocean. Solomon's fleet was in the Mediterranean. Solomon's fleet was alone. That's Solomon's fleet. That was all us. Indian Ocean was Solomon's men and Hiram's men. Solomon's fleet in the Tarshish was his fleet alone. You understand? So that's him fleeing. That's him. His fleet sailed from Mediterranean over to the left, then south, which goes right. Good Hope and all that. This is Solomon's fleet and Solomon's fleet alone. They're trying to be slick. Watch. Watch this.
at a greater distance from Tyre, the capital of their sailors' empire, than from the American continent, and perhaps in pursuit of the famed Atlantic Isles.
The famed Atlantic Isle. Go ahead.
Famed Atlantic Isle. That some of the fleet is that.
Yep, that's it.
Some of the fleet,
Solomon's fleet. Go ahead.
should from mistaking their course,
There was no mistaken course. None. We knew exactly where this place was. We'll get to that later on. Go ahead.
or from tempests,
Or from storms. Go ahead.
be driven to borne to the American continent.
See? So they're saying that's how they got over here. Solomon's fleet got over here somehow, whether by accident or deliberately. Go ahead.
The probability is still strengthened by the fact that in the Atlantic Ocean west of Africa, the regular trade winds are constantly blowing to the west.
Blowing where?
To the west.
The constant trading winds, blowing trade winds are constantly blowing to the west. So if you're in West Africa and you are a sailor, the trade winds always take you where? To America. You're always going to sail that way. You're not going to go that way. You're going to go that way, to the west, the Western Hemisphere. Go ahead.
which with the Gulf Stream, occasioned by the trade winds flowing in the same direction, will bear a vessel very rapidly to the American shores.
Go ahead.
Storms and tempests might have separated the fleet and driven some of the ships to our coast.
No storm, but Solomon's ship didn't arrive on no storm. Solomon and them sailed here deliberately. Knew where they were going. Go ahead.
Having no compass, and when perhaps no sun, moon, nor stars appear for many days.
We're going to prove that doesn't matter. Go ahead. We had knowledge of the sun, the moon, and the stars to begin with. Go ahead.
The mariners may have become bewildered,
Mariners, yeah. Go ahead.
lost their course, and instead of reaching the desired haven, landed in the New World.
Go ahead.
Daring enterprise might have induced them to direct their courses through the western waves in quest of lands which had never been found.
Never been inhabited. Sound familiar? Sounds familiar. Never been found. Go ahead.
We draw our conclusion that from some of the above causes, the first people inhabiting
Go up now. The first people inhabiting what?
North America were driven to our shores. That those people were Phoenicians.
This is Israelites
or Tyrians
or
Jews.
and Jews.
And Jews.
Go ahead.
And that they landed in ancient days as those of the reign of Solomon.
Go down to the next blue part. Right there.
But whether the progenitors of the Indians of America arrived here through design or accident,
Design. Go ahead.
whether they came in a numerous fleet or in a single vessel,
Fleet.
it matters not. If we can trace their origin and read their history, it must suffice.
Watch this.
And speaking of the Indians of America coming from Phoenicia and Palestine, or Jews,
Or Judea.
Judea, we have reference to the numerous tribes which inhabited the central and southern parts of North America.
See that? So he's telling you they came from them same areas. The Native Americans came from those people. Phoenicia, Palestine, or Judea. They came from there. That's what they're saying. Say more on the bottom? That's all I want. That's all I want then. Yeah, there's more? Go to the next one. Yeah, we're going to end at Europeans in the New World. Yeah.
According to the reports of the Spaniards who first invaded Mexico.
Why do we keep reading that? Mexico again. Mexico again. Go ahead.
The empire had been established in that place, but between 3 and 4 centuries, and that the nations came from the east.
They came from where?
The east.
Mexico. The people of Mexico came from the east. Go Go ahead.
This was the tradition and likewise the records of the Mexicans.
So they had a record that they came from the east. Go ahead. Keep going.
We have supposed that they came from Asia in the days of Solomon.
Oh, man. They came from the east. Asia means east. In the days of who?
Solomon.
Solomon's time. Again. Go ahead.
Which was about 1,000 years before the Christian era.
Go ahead.
If they had resided in Mexico for 400 years when the Spaniards conquered them, they must have arrived there about 1,000 years from the time they commenced their pilgrimage, till they formed a city as the head of their empire. But 338 years have elapsed since Columbus discovered America. What changes have taken place in our hemisphere since that period? What changes then should we suppose must have taken place in the 2,000 years that preceded the arrival of the Europeans in the New World?
That's all I wanted. We'll go back. We'll visit that again. Go to 1 Chronicles 12:32. First Chronicles 12:32 regarding sun and moon needing a compass. Read that, please.
First Chronicles chapter 12, verse 32. And of the children of Issachar, which were men that had understanding of the times, to know what Israel ought to do. The heads of them were 200, and all their brethren were at their commandment.
They had understanding of the times. They had understanding of the times. Of the times. They had navigational gifts. Issachar had the navigational gifts. Okay, now let's go to the next book. Read that. Remember that year? We go that year again. 1000 B. 1000. That's a 10,000. 1000 BC. 1000 BC. 1000. Go ahead.
By 1000 BC, new construction methods using wooden planks and metal tools changed the appearance of the reed and bark ships. In addition, by studying the stars and the solar system, the Aztecs...
Hold on. By studying the stars and solar system, the what?
The Aztecs.
That's Mexicans. The Aztecs. Go ahead.
Arabs,
Celts will be Jakes as well in some instances.
Chinese, Egyptians, Greeks, Hindus, and the Phoenicians.
That's us again. Go ahead.
Developed navigational methods as well as maps and charts of far off lands.
We did not need a compass. We had navigational skills, especially Aztecs, especially them. Page, let's go to next book, Mexico now. Yep, 67. This book goes into the arguments regarding the Mexicans, and he gave a whole bunch of theories. Each scholar gave their understanding of what they believe their origin is of. And this one seems to be in highest favor among all the rest. Read that one, Jewish theory.
The Jewish theory. Probably no theory has given origin to greater discussion than that the lost tribes of Israel were the first populators of all the Pacific states as far south as Peru.
The Incas. Go ahead.
Learned men are found arrayed on both sides of the question. Father Diego Duran, of vast erudition in the ancient history of Mexico, is the first author of note to publish this plan. He wrote in 1585.
In 1585, he wrote what?
From a study of traditions and picture painting, aided by an aged Indian at Cholula.
An aged Indian helped him at Cholula. Go ahead.
Cholula, who had lived nearly 100 years.
This old Indian lived nearly 100 years and spoke to him. Go ahead.
He came to the conclusion that these natives are of the 10 tribes of Israel, that Shalmaneser, king of the Assyrians, made prisoners and carried to Assyria in the time of Hoshea, king of Israel, and in the time of Hezekiah, king of Jerusalem, as can be seen in the 4th book of the Kings, 17th chapter.
He came to a conclusion based upon an old Indian telling him, that's us.
In his first chapter, which is entirely devoted to this subject, Father Duran quotes several times from the Old Testament, but relies mainly on a citation from the book of Esdras.
Of what?
Book of Esdras.
Oh, man. Go ahead.
Where he reads that they went to live in a land remote and separated, which had never been inhabited, to which they had a long and tedious journey of a year and a half, for which reason it is supposed these people are found in all
Next page.
that these people are found in all the islands and lands of the ocean constituting the Occident. It is, to say the least, amusing to see the restraint under which men studied and wrote in the 16th century. Father Duran brings his arguments to a close by saying that there can be no doubt as to the conclusions. But in all, I submit myself to the correction of the Holy Catholic
He's
Church.
saying, based upon what I've seen, these guys are Israelites, but the Catholic Church says different. I'll go with what y'all say. That's what he's saying. Go ahead, watch this.
Gregorio Garcia, who resided 9 years in Peru.
This is the Garcia that said that Issachar was Mexicans. It's the same Garcia in that other book that Bishop used way back about Issachar. That's Garcia, the same guy. Go ahead.
In his Origins of the Indians, Madrid,
That's his book,
1729.
Origins of the Indians. Go ahead.
Enlarges on Duran's plan and gives numberless supposed similarities between the Mexicans and Hebrews in character,
In what way? In character, what else?
dress,
Uh
religion,
huh.
physical peculiarities, condition, customs, and language.
Oh, same people. Again, next guy.
Lord Kingsborough, in a most scholarly and dignified way, tries to prove the same theory. He also gives an extended list of similarities between the Jews and the Mexicans. Among other things, he says, it is probable that the Toltecs were acquainted with the sin of the first man
Know about Adam,
committed at the suggestion of the woman,
Eve,
herself deceived by the serpent, who tempted her with the fruit of the forbidden tree, who was the origin of all our calamities,
death.
and by whom death came into the world.
They knew about that already. How'd they know? Go to the next page.
The character and history of Christ, and who at Lati present certain analogies.
So they're saying that their God, Huet, Zapotl, and Christ are the same. Same person, just different name. Go ahead.
The Mexicans applied the blood of sacrifices to the same uses as the Jews.
The sacrifices over here. Go ahead.
For an excellent resume of all the interesting and curious analogies contained in Lord Kingsborough's voluminous work. Voluminous work.
Yeah, bro. Same
See
thing.
Bancroft's Native Races, Volume 5.
See Bancroft's Native Races, Volume 5. Go ahead.
Page 80 to 91, inclusive.
So those books cross-reference together, saying the same thing. Go ahead.
Suffice it here to say that this enthusiastic, almost fanatical advocate of the Jewish discovery of America finds something parallel in Mexican traditions to the entire biblical history from Eden to Calvary.
Damn. Eden to Rome, I believe.
Mr. James Adair, who lived and traded for 40 years,
I'm James Adair, Lost Child of Promised Lands. Read that book all the time.
who traded for 40 years with the American Indians. London, 1775.
It was slaves at that time, 1775. Go ahead.
Is a warm advocate of this same theory. Following in the footsteps of Garcia, Professor Short, page 143, gives the names of a number of learned authors who practically agree with Duran and Garcia. Circumstantial evidence has not been lacking in our country toward the support of this theory.
Circumstantial evidence has not been lacking in our country toward the support of this theory. Circumstantial evidence supports it. Go ahead.
In 1815, Mr. James Merrick of Pittsfield, Massachusetts, found while plowing what seemed to be a black strap above about 6 inches in length.
So this guy, James Merrick, found something in 1815, a black strap that appeared to be 6 inches in length. Go ahead.
On trying to cut it, he found it was formed of 2 pieces of thick rawhide, sewed and made watertight with the sinews of some animal and gummed over.
Go ahead.
And in the folds contained 4 folded pieces of parchment.
So inside this thing was found 4 pieces of folded parchment, folded papers, folded inside this raw hide. Go ahead.
1 piece was unfortunately destroyed, but when the other pieces were taken to Harvard College, they were discovered to be quotations in Hebrew from the Old Testament.
Interesting. Let's go to the next book. Let's see what's on the paper. Let's see what's written on the paper. Go to the next book I have. The Races.
Joseph Merrick, a highly respectable character in the church at Pittsfield, gave the following account: that in 1815 he was leveling some ground under and near an old woodshed, standing on a place of his situated on Indian Hill. He plowed and conveyed away old chips and earth to some depth. After the work was done, walking over the place, he discovered near where the earth had been dug the deepest a black strap as it appeared.
Read that earlier. Go ahead.
About 6 inches in length.
Read that earlier.
And 1.5 in breadth, and about the thickness of a leather trace to a harness. He perceived it had at each end a loop of some hard substance, probably for the purpose of carrying it. He conveyed it to his house and threw it into an old toolbox. He afterwards found it thrown out at the door and again conveyed it to the box. Go down. After some time, he thought he would examine it, but in attempting to cut it, found it as hard as bone. He succeeded, however, in getting it open and found it was formed of 2 pieces of thick rawhide, sewed and made watertight with the sinews of some animal and gummed over. And in the fold was contained 4 folded pieces of parchment.
Those paper, 4 pieces of paper. Go ahead.
They were of a dark yellow hue and contained some kind of writing.
Oh, so it was writing on the paper you found. Go ahead.
The neighbors coming in to see the strange discovery tore one of the pieces to atoms.
By accident. Go
in
ahead.
the true Hun and Vandal style. The other 3 pieces Mr. Merrick saved and sent them to Cambridge, where they were examined and discovered to have been written with a pen.
Oh, so they had pens over here, Native Americans. Okay, go ahead.
In Hebrew.
And what?
In Hebrew. Plain and legible.
Plain and clear. Go ahead.
The writing on the 3 remaining pieces of parchment was quotations from the Old Testament.
What quotations? Go next page.
The other discovery was made in Ohio.
Go down. Go down. It's going to say what it says. Go down to the bottom of the page. Let me see it. Go down to the bottom. Right there. So go back to the first page. I'm sorry. Go back to the other page. Go back to the other page we had. Go back to it real quick. I'm sorry. Okay, see it says Old Testament, number 210. See that? Go to the next page and see what the 210 it says. Quotations from the Old Testament. 210. Bring it down to the bottom. Read that.
Reference 210. See Deuteronomy.
Chapter what?
Chapter 6. From 4th to 9th verse inclusive. Also chapter 11, verse 13 to 21 inclusive. And Exodus chapter 13, 11 to 16 inclusive, to which the reader can refer if he has the curiosity to read the most interesting discovery. It is said by Calmet that the above texts are the very passages of scripture which the Jews used to write on the leaves of their phylacteries. These phylacteries were little rolls of parchment whereon were written certain words of the law. These they wore upon their forehead and upon the wrist of the left arm.
So on the paper was found Deuteronomy 6, Exodus 13, Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 4 to 9, then chapters 13, chapter 11, verse 13 to 21, Exodus 13, 11 to 16. That's what they had in the paper. The law written on the paper. That's what he found. The Native Americans had that written on paper in pen, by a pen. That's all I want. Go back to the other book.
Mr. George Jones, in his work, colonizes this continent with a remnant of the inhabitants of Tyre, who escaped from their island city when it was besieged by Alexander the Great.
That's his assumption. See, they came from Tyre. Go ahead.
In 332 BC.
Go down. What page is this? 71. Go down. I want more. That's all I want. So, you can close that out. So again, look at the map here. I want y'all to remember where they're placed, where Israel was placed, divinely placed, I should say. You have Asher here, Zebulon. Remember, those are Solomon's seafaring. Those are his main sailors. And Issachar knew the times, travel as well, navigation as well. Going back to the Aztecs, that's them. I'll get to that later on in the series. That the Aztecs and Issachar, same people. Naphtali up the top, and Manasseh to the right. Go down. We see Manasseh again. Ephraim to the bottom. All right. So hold on. And you also have Moab. Go. Matter of fact, go back up again. Go up again. Where is Gad? They have Gad in here? Okay, see Gad right there? Who's Gad's neighbor? Go to the right. Ammon. Right next door to Gad. What did Ephraim have a habit of doing? Mixing themselves. Just putting that out there. Gad and Ammon next door. Gad and Ammon next door. All right. Go down. And you have Reuben over here, and you have Moab right under him. So now, let's go to Jeremiah 49.
The book of Jeremiah, chapter 49, verse 1. Concerning the Ammonites, thus saith the Lord, hath Israel no sons? Hath he no heir? Why then doth their king inherit Gad?
Right.
And his people dwell in his cities.
So his people is referring to Ammon. Read again.
Concerning the Ammonites, thus saith the Lord, hath Israel no sons?
Go back to the map again.
Hath Israel no sons? Hath he no heir? Why then doth their king inherit Gad? And his people dwell in his cities.
Go ahead. They not only did they inherit our land when we got conquered on this side of the world, that side of the world, they did the same thing on this side of the world too. Go ahead.
Therefore, behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that I will cause an alarm of war to be heard in the Rabbah of the Ammonites, and it shall be a desolate heap, and her daughters shall be burned with fire. Then shall Israel be heir unto them that were his heirs, saith the Lord.
So he's going to bring destruction to Ammon.
We used to scream black power while Hiram was pushed. But at the end of the day, nothing's in vain. IUIC has been given a vision. The tents of Judah has risen. Many has attempted the mission, minor murmuring, omitting, and missing the mark. Just reading that he had the flame of fire in his eyes gave us the spark. We on Paul's mission. We out on the road, purple and gold, from Mexico, Cuba, Haiti, Ghana, Sierra Leone. 144,000 boots banging, concrete crackling. These are our men repented at heart. The scriptures is proof. IUIC, we deliver the truth.